And good morning and welcome to Sewing Street. It is officially the winter solstice. It is the first day of winter, which is quite exciting. I'm really into the solstice. I quite often get up early on the morning of the summer solstice and watch the sunrise, but I think I'm going to miss that this morning. But more excitingly, from now on, it's getting lighter. The days are drawing out. Hooray! I mean, not for a couple of days, because solstice means sun stops. So you've got a few days where it's all going to be even, and then it's getting lighter. So isn't that exciting? That means that from today onwards, it might even be light in the morning. Anyway, so welcome to the winter solstice today. How exciting is that? We've got some really good things on the show for you today, but I'm going to talk about the early bird first. What a fantastic box of threads I've got here. 50 spools, and not the same colours, 50 spools in 50 colours. Now, these threads are 100% polyester, so really, really lovely, strong, but because of the polyester, they've got a really nice sheen on them. 500 metres, a lot of fives in here. 50 spools, 50 colours, 500 metres. Just for $44.99, which saves you £5. Now, this equates to 89 pence a spool, which, as you know, for a 500 metre spool is really good. So your normal spool that you would buy is 100, maybe 150 metres. This is 500 metres. These are a 40 weight thread. Now, if you're not used to what thread weights are and do, the normal thread that you use in your machine that you'd use for piecing, just general sewing, is a 50 weight. The higher the number, the finer the thread. So these are a 40 weight. So these are slightly thicker than your normal piecing. However, they're not that much thicker. So you could use them in your machine for normal sewing, piecing, dressmaking, patchwork, whatever. But because they've got that slight thickness, they're very good for top stitching. If you want just a little bit more emphasis, a top stitch thread is normally 30. So this is sort of halfway between. Brilliant for machine embroidery or just for adding some extra, but because they're polyester, the way that this is spun, it's got more of a sheen on it than other polyester threads that I've seen. And look how many there are. There was all sorts of colours. So you've got things like, you know, your black and your grey and your neutral and your navy, all those normal colours that everybody needs. But then you've got bright primaries, yellow and orange and red. And then you've also got some, you know, more subtle pastels like this pale pink. There's a nice lime green. So whatever you're making, there will be a thread in here that will go. And with 500 metres, that goes a long way. Normally, I find if I'm making a quilt, particularly if I'm doing lots of piecing, I just go through 100 metre reel just like that. So amazing. But Hannah has just had a look and found a price comparison for us. Is that the same box? So just for the box itself on this website. $17.99, that's just for the box. Now look at the box. If I take a few out so you can see, I might put, yeah, so that's just for the box. But if I take them out, you can see it is a proper storage box. Look, there's little things. So you can get them all in. If you put them in upside down and right way up, then they all fit. But it means that you can use it to carry, or you can use it to, when you've used up these threads, you can use it to store your threads. So if you bought a couple of boxes these, they'd all stack on top of each other. They clip closed at the front. Really, really lovely sturdy box with every colour you'd ever need. So this is a great present to yourself. Because, you know how there's always one colour that you're missing, but it's lovely. I mean, if you say you needed green, I know in my green collection, I've probably got 3 at home. For 89 pence a spool. Look, I'm just picking out the greens now. Let's just pick out the greens so you can see what your colour combinations are. Each one of them is wrapped in plastic as well to just keep them really clean. So I think that's it. That's the greens. Look at that. You never have that many in your collection. And then here's the blues. Got the blues. Really lovely, but I mean, it is a bit of everything that you need. There's the blues, and then you've got primaries. You have got black and white and navy, so you've got the basic colours you need. There's a few neutrals. I'll have them. Let's have a direct price comparison then. What's that one? Right, if this one wasn't out of stock, $53.95. That's exactly the same product that we've got, and we're on $44.99. That's an absolute bargain, isn't it? You've even got purples, which is always a colour you don't always find, and then you've got the purples that go into sort of the pinks and the fuchsias. I'm going to empty the whole box in a minute. But they do stack, so if you bought more than one, because you want lots and lots of thread, they do stack. Yeah, should we put some yellows in the mix? Unfortunately, I'm going to have to put all these back. So look, there's all that one goes to the green. Lots of golds and oranges, and those are actually different shades. Pinks. Whoa, look at those. That's a real sort of bright fuchsia-y, orangey pink colour. And there's a white. So you could use them, you know, if you want to do decorative stitching, things like free motion embroidery or applique, they'd be brilliant for that because you've got such a good colour choice. And it's nice as well that although they've given you all those beautiful bright colours, that one goes there, you've also got all these neutrals as well, which is, you know, what you really need. And it looks like, these, I'll put my glasses on, I think they're the same colour. Oh no, they're not. I was going to say there's two whites, but you've got actually a bright white and then a more of an off-white and a cream and an ivory. So you've got loads and loads of colours there. It's beautiful, isn't it? What a lovely, lovely collection. It's a lovely collection. This is great, isn't it? You can have hours of fun. And I like the fact that they all come in a box. I mean, before we even put the discount on for the early bird, it was a really good price. It was still less than we could find on other sites. But now we've put the discount on, it's even better value. So that is a wonderful collection. Because you think what that would cost normally at 500 metres a spool. And they're not your sort of massive spools. They will easily fit onto your sewing machine as well. I'm not absolutely sure I'm putting these back in right. Or has anybody got a photo of what they looked like originally? I don't know. Well, I have put them on sticks. Do you know what you have to do? I've worked it out. In alternate rows, this should come with an manual of how to put them back. On the alternate rows, there isn't a manual. But look, on alternate rows, if you're like me and you wonder how on earth to put them back in, on alternate rows, you have to put them upside down for them all to fit. But you see, when you've used these spools, because these are standard sized holes, you can store other threads in here as well. Yeah, so, I mean, and just for the storage box, we found they're at least £10 just for the storage box. Oh, look, see, when you get it right, don't they go back in really nicely as well? They look really neat now. Oh, look, Hannah's found me another price comparison. £60. £60 and 99 pence. What an absolute bargain. But it is, I mean, to be honest, it is absolutely massive collection. And it is just over £1 a spool. So 50 spools, 50 colours, £44.99, 40 weight thread. So that's really good, isn't it? Look at that. And look how neatly I've put them back in. Because that's important, isn't it, Wendy? Yes, I'm getting Wendy to join in now. Be really excited by how neat I've put them back in. Now, we have got less than 20 available left. So if you want one of these, put it in your basket. Remember, because we're on the first few minutes of the show, postage and packaging is £3.95. £3.95. You only pay it once for the day. So with the discount you get here, that covers your P&P. It doesn't matter how many times you check out, there's still only one P&P. But just like when you go to the supermarket, if it's in your basket, it's not yours. You have to go through to the checkout. You can check out as many times as you want, but you need to check out to ensure it's yours. So when we get quite low on stock, even though you've got in your basket, somebody could take it out of your basket and then they go to the checkout and then you've lost it. So nobody's ever taken anything out of my basket, but I'm always very careful that nobody takes, especially if you go to the toilet when you're in the supermarket. You think, shall I check out first or not? It's terrible. But next, so everything that is on the show today, all 5 hours, is on pre-order already. So if you haven't shopped with us before, the easiest way to do it is on the website. If you click on Watch Live, if you're watching on the TV, go onto the website, click on watch live, and then you can see it on screen now. If you scroll down, you can see all the products. Now that's the easiest way to buy because everything that we've got on the show is there. You can just click on it, buy it there. If you would rather order by phone, that's absolutely fine. We've got a UK call centre, lovely, lovely people, and they're really helpful there. The number's 0800 001 4433. That's on our screen as well. So you can either order on the website, which is really simple because you can just click on the website and get it, or you can do phone the call centre. So I'm just going to highlight a couple of things that we've got coming up in the next few hours because we've had a lot of demand for them. These beautiful cushion designs by Delphine, the Highland Cow and the Unicorn, we have only sold before in kits. So you get the instruction, you get the fabric. We've had so much demand for them because these designs are perfect for using up scraps. They use up all little pieces, and when we've done them before, we've sold them as kits with charm packs and stuff. And a lot of you have said, I've got loads of scraps for my fabrics. I'd love to have the instructions. Well, due to popular demand, we have finally persuaded those who are in power to allow us to sell them as just instructions only, so you can use your own fabric. So there's the Highland Cow or the applique cushion. I'm going to be talking more about that at 9 o'clock because they're in some, I've got them in a show with other sort of packs and charm packs that you could use with them, but I just wanted to say now because we've had so many people asking for them, if you want them, they are available on pre-order, and we'll be talking more about them at 9 o'clock, but we've had such a demand for these. I thought I'd point that out because these are the first ever time we've done that. Okay, so should we see what's coming up? Shall we? Oh no, hang on a minute before I show what's coming up. The Hexies, these are really important because these are back in stock. These are going to be in the Tula hour at 9 o'clock. These are beautiful because they're pre-cut. These are pre-cut. So this is from the Tula Pink Line Work collection, which features monochrome fabrics with lots of pops and hits of bright primary rainbow colours. I'll be talking more about them at 9 o'clock, and I'll show you through them all. But again, this is something that has been extremely popular. We've got them back in stock. So if you wanted to get them and you missed out last time, I didn't want you to miss this time. So I'm just highlighting them. But aren't they beautiful? Because they're already cut. You don't have to think about it. So with the Hexies this side, I mean, normally they would be hand applique, but with ones this size, you can actually machine sew them together. They're really good for applique. They're really good for crazy piecing as well, because you can overlap them all. They're brilliant, and they're all beautifully cut. If you've already checked out your unicorn and cow, well done. They are flying now. So if you do want to have those instructions, then pop them in your basket and check out now, because there is going to be a great demand. I think we might even sell out before 9. So get them checked out. Right, anyway, coming up, 8 o'clock, that's now. We've got the Cassini Quilt with Wendy Orlando, which is a brand new design that we haven't shown before, and it's really beautiful. You are going to love that. It's stunning. And we've got the sample here in the studio to show you. 9 o'clock, as I've just said, we've got Tula Pink Overload. So everything Tula, which is going to be lovely because I love Tula Pink. At 10 o'clock, Wendy's back with the puff cushion. She's going to show some really good tips and techniques and tricks of how to do this and other things you can do with it as well that she was telling me about earlier. 11 o'clock, Workroom Tools. Got loads of tools and ones that I've chosen as well, so I'm quite excited by that. And 12 o'clock, yay, we've got Yarn Lane, clearly my favourite. And today on Yarn Lane, we've got baby blankets. They're featuring yarn from West Yorkshire Spinners. I'll be talking to you more about them, but these are the most beautiful wool crochet. There's the one in the middle is a crochet, the two on either side are knitted. So it's a bit for everyone. And we've also got some pattern books as well featuring the West Yorkshire Spinners yarn. It's the most beautiful quality wool yarn. You're going to love that show, and Wendy's going to teach you some really interesting techniques in that. Anyway. So back to this hour, 8 o'clock is the Cassini Quilt. We have got 2 kits, bundles to do this. So can we have a picture of the quilt to start with? So shall I show it to you? So on the front of the pattern, let me put that down flat. This is the Cassini Quilt. It's absolutely stunning. It's a beautiful rainbow of piecing. It's designed by Beth Studley. All the instructions, the templates, everything you need are in the instructions. All of it. I've talked it through with Wendy, and she said, you know, all makes perfect sense, easy to understand, but it is the most beautiful quilt. You can obviously make it in whatever colour you want. This one is done using loads and loads of scraps, but we've got 2 bundles for you here to sort of inspire you. So in the first bundle, which is called the Rainbow Bundle, we have got half meters. How many have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 half meters. So I'll show you them. Paprika, there's mustard, green, blue. These should be in order, shouldn't they? So we've got like a dark orange, a light orange, mustard yellow, bright yellow, green, but we've got like a dark green and a lighter green, and then we've got a dark blue and a lighter blue and a deep purple. So a real rainbow. So obviously the one that Beth has done that you'll see in a minute and that's in the picture and that Wendy's got is using many, many different scraps. But in order to make it, there's enough fabric here to make it. But what I would do is I would use this, because these are all your plains and this helps you with your colour choosing and your colour palette, is to then use any other scraps of fabric that you've got to mix and match with it to really make it your own. But this, I mean, you can make it with just these plain, well, they're not plain actually. Some of them are the sort of mottled effect. You've got a mixture. But this will give you a really good starting point. You can make the whole quilt from this, or you can mix and match it with quilts, with fabrics from your own collection. There's also this bundle here that's called, what's this one called? So again, in this bundle, you get the instructions. And this is sort of a monochrome purple vibe. So I'm going to go in order. So you've got just a plain black and then a very, very dark navy. You can only tell it's a bit like trying to work out your tights in the morning. I can only ever tell which are my navy tights when I put the next to black ones. Then you've got a mottled grey. And anyone who tries to sort their navy from black tights on will understand exactly what I mean, that you only know when you're near navy. Then you have grey. And then purple, and then a slightly more mottled purple, and then we move into greys and creams. So that's a beautiful, I mean, can you imagine the effect of that? It's a really sort of deep black, grey, purple, beautiful for the winter. Actually, perfect for the winter solstice day. It feels really clean and cold, this quilt. I love it. So you can use, you know, either of these bundles that you can create, use them as a sort of a colour palette as a starting point, or honestly there is enough fabric to make the whole thing. But if I was doing it, I would put a few little scraps of my own fabrics, because you only need small pieces. So that's the bundles. Shall we find out how we're going to make it? Morning,
Good
Wendy.
morning. I'm so excited. Finally, we get to work together.
Yes, Wendy and I spend a lot of time talking about shows that we're planning, particularly Yarn Lane, but we've never actually get to work together.
We just spend a lot of time talking.
We do. Well, actually, to be fair, we don't talk about work. We just
Exactly.
spend a lot of time chatting about yarn.
Yes.
So, Wendy, could you show us the quilt, please?
I can indeed.
This is my glamorous assistant, Wendy, who will now be holding the quilt up. Look at that. So that is the actual quilt that's on the front cover of the pattern.
It is the actual quilt.
It is the actual quilt, made
cover.
and designed by Beth Studley, but is it just
absolutely
stunning?
Beautiful.
Just stunning. So and that features, well, all sorts of reds and pinks. It's not just red, orange, yellow, is it?
Every colour in the rainbow. It's a rainbow effect. It's absolutely beautiful. And the reason that we've actually gone for lesser amount of colours is just so that everyone can get a feel of how to do this, because it looks really, really complicated.
It does, actually.
It isn't complicated.
Looks really clever.
It does look very clever, doesn't
that's
it?
good, isn't
so,
it?
of course, if anyone's got their stash, and we've all got them, I'm not telling you how big mine is, but we've all got our own.
Yeah.
But we thought with this, then it just gives everyone an introduction, and you'll just be able to make some beautiful things. And we've got what did you call it? Dark and cold.
Yes, it is. I don't know what its actual name is. Has it got an actual name?
It should be warm and snuggly, shouldn't it? But I know what you mean.
But I like that, the pop of purple in it.
I do, and I think that would look amazing. And so what we've done with our colours is we've gone for the rainbow effect on these ones.
Yeah, because there's enough fabric in the bundle to make the whole thing. You don't have to put other fabrics in.
You don't have to,
It's only
no.
if you want to.
And you can make it exactly how you wanted it. But I want to show people that, yes, it does look really complicated, but if you just keep it fairly simple, and you'll see I'm actually going to turn this into a cushion, because you can make a cushion as well. Well, not as well, but you could, if you wanted to make some cushions, then you can do that instead. If that's maybe just a little bit too daunting.
If you didn't want to go for the whole thing. And it's really nice to have a round quilt as well, isn't it?
It is. I think that's really unusual, and I love it. So I'm going to be, and I'm hoping to finish this in the break.
Right.
I've started a cushion, but I also want to show you that if I show you on this one here, actually on the quilt itself, every single layer has got multiple, apart from the centre, has got the multiple colours. You don't have to do that. If that is a little bit daunting, because you'll see some of them are very, very thin. So you might, and when you've got your 1/4 inch seam allowance, it might be a little bit tricky to work with. Don't worry, just do it plain.
So you can choose.
You can choose exactly what you want to do.
Or you can have segments.
And I will explain a little bit about the instructions here. So the instructions, it's all there for you, and then you just have your A4 instructions on the actual quilt itself. So, and that it goes into the depth what you can do.
Nice photographs as well.
It is, and it's very comprehensive. But what I've actually done, and is what I always do, and this is what I think the wonderful thing about sewing and any form of craft, it's your interpretation. It's how you want to make it. So and Beth states that you can use a good number is between 5 and 9 in each section.
Right, okay.
So that's where the little scraps come into. If you've got a really tiny scrap, then you may want to do 9 in each section. If you've got bigger pieces, then you can do 5, 6. You can do what you want, because each of these circles, and it shows in the purple here, are made in different sections.
Right, and so you've got segments that you can then subdivide if you want.
Have.
Right, that makes sense.
And I've chosen on this, the centre one, again, if you wanted to piece a lot of pieces together and then cut the circle out, you can do that. It doesn't have to be plain, so it's your interpretation. But on this one, I've chosen just a plain. And then for these, I just chose each segment to be a different colour. Okay. But what, on the actual quilt, they've done multiple pieces in each segment, but I've chosen just to do one, and that's entirely up to you. I'm not sure how the fabric will work out if you chose to do that with all of them, because that obviously takes quite a bit of fabric. So you might need to be a little bit mindful of that.
But I guess it's the same method used from the middle as you move out, so you can play with it as you go. So where do we start then?
So you start in centre. So the instructions, you will need to photocopy the instructions. I wouldn't actually use the original personally. I would keep that one for your master copy. And then it explains on here, so you've got the centre one is your centre templates, which you cut 1, and then it tells you layer 1 you need to make 2, layer 2 you need to make 2, and then it goes through.
You could photocopy or trace them.
You could trace them. I photocopied them, and because we're doing foundation paper piecing, I used a really, really thin photocopier paper, because you need to be able to tear it away afterwards. Okay. So don't use your best paper, just use a really cheap photocopier. I'm not sure if they have the actual foundation paper piecing back in stock.
We have the
Do you have it in stock? Because that would be the
foundation paper on the website, if you have a look for it. We'll find the code for you in a minute. But
that would be absolutely brilliant. The only thing that I would say, I'm not sure how many pieces are in the pack. When you get to the outer layers, and I'll show you here. I do apologise. As always, I have a dog, so that he always has to get involved to have everything laid out on the floor, and he comes padding in. So we've got layer 12. You need to make 12. So you'd have to photocopy that 12 times. And then layer 11, you need to photocopy that 8. So there's quite a considerable amount of pieces. So I would, although that paper is amazing, probably would just use the photocopier paper for that. So the first thing you want to do is get your centre one, which we've got here, and then you just start adding layers and layers and layers. They're all the same. So if I just show you how to do the next layer, there's no different to how you would pin it and piece it anyway.
They're just wider.
They are. Well, they're all different, actually,
Right, okay.
and that's the great thing about it. And if you are going to be doing it at home with your own pieces, then what you would normally do is you'd start with your base colour, and then the next layer you would have your base colour and add another colour, and then you would just keep adding a different colour in each time,
Right.
which is what's happened on the quilt, and that's where you get that continuity of colour, and it just looks incredible. But this is, you know, I want to be able to show that anyone can do it.
Yeah,
It's not
okay.
hard. So I've already made, I'm on my next outer now, so I've already made 3 of the sections. Now this section calls for 4, and I thought it would be really nice to have every colour on this
So
round.
how do you make just the one then?
So I'm going to show you how to do that now. And you know, I don't know if you've seen before, I'm an absolute lover of foundation paper piecing. I'd never done it in my life, and then once I've sent a kit from here, I was hooked.
Yeah, no,
And
I
I love it.
I used to avoid it and I didn't like it at all. And then I realised I didn't like it because I didn't understand it. I thought I need to do this. So I sat down one day and
It's
watched
just a
loads
process,
of
isn't it?
YouTubes.
It's a back and front, a back
And
and
then
front.
had a go and thought, I really like this.
I really
and
love
I always
it.
used to say to people, I don't like foundation paper piecing.
Oh,
It's
no,
only
I
because
love
I
it.
didn't understand it.
I love it.
I absolutely love it now.
So what they tell you to do, what Beth tells you to do, is actually choose how many different pieces you want in each segment. But what I found a really good thing to do was, if I folded this in half, and I'm not sure if we will be able to pick up here, because when you cut them out, always cut them a little bit wider than you need to. And the reason you do that is once you've finished sewing, you can then get a really, really clean
you can really
cut.
trim them
really
nicely. Okay.
So all I'm doing is I'm folding it in half, and I'm looking for the 1/4 of an inch seam allowance,
Yeah, no,
and then
that's
I'm
fine.
going to fold it in half again, and then I'm going to fold it in half again. So what I've done now is I've already preempted where my folds are going to be, where my fabric is going to be. And because I want them, because this is, I like everything in order, so I've just written red, orange, yellow. So I've written the colours on as well, so I know what I'm doing. But if you wanted to, you can just wing it. You can just do any colours and any pieces you want. And then you cut your pieces of fabric wider than the segment that you're going to be working on. And then, again, I'm sorry if they are out of stock. This is your best friend when you're working in foundation paper.
Okay.
Do you glue?
No.
Oh,
No, I glue number 1.
Number
I glue
one.
the first piece, yes.
Well, so this one you glue the first and the end.
Always, yeah, but
The first
then
and the
after
end.
that I don't glue.
Right.
I just,
So all I'm going to do now.
maybe, but I do glue to start with because
Yeah.
I can't do it otherwise.
No, I just find it much easier because
Yeah.
if everything's stable and in place,
Yeah.
then it can work better.
Yeah, because the first one is really hard to
It is.
hold, isn't it? So
It
I
is.
always glue for number 1.
Now the first one I'm going to do. I've called it red. It's not. It's like a burnt
Yeah, it is
orange,
like
isn't
a
it?
burnt orange,
It is,
but
but
it's-
just
it's
for me,
softer
just
than a red.
It is. And one thing that I would actually recommend that you do, Rebecca, is to use your best press, because
Okay.
because you're working with, first of all, in the round, which is always a little bit more tricky. You've then got all these seams. So it's going to be a little bit unstable if you're cutting on the bias using your
Yeah, of course.
oddments. So I would, and I have done this one, so you can see it's.
So you've sprayed it already?
I have. I've already sprayed this one with the best press, and I don't know if it's picking it up there. That this is the one that I haven't, so it's really soft and fluid, and this
Okay.
one is a little bit stiffer. So all I did
Oh,
was
yes,
just.
I've got some best press.
I've got some here.
You've got some and I've got
Yes.
some.
So I just sprayed it with a little bit of best press,
Clear starch and sizing.
and it doesn't
Brilliant.
smell, which is brilliant.
Yeah, and it's
because
really-
some of them have got such
And it
an
does make quite a
overwhelming.
difference to stability of the
It does.
fabric,
You can
doesn't
see
it?
that it's not really, really stiff, but
No.
it's enough just to give that rigidity.
And to sort of stop fraying while you're sewing at the time. So
Which is
if
what you need.
You know, if you're doing lots of piecing, and it doesn't have to be foundation piecing, it could be any kind of piecing, a spritz with best press does make quite a difference.
Definitely, and for applique and things like that, because it just holds that fabric stable, which is what you want. You don't want it going all over the place. And again, especially if you're working on the biased, you're going to have that stretch, which we don't want that here because we want to make it fit. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to do this first one. Now, the rule is that you sew on the side that is printed, but you place on the side that isn't printed.
Right.
Now, again, it's really, I can see it because I'm up close to it. I'm not sure if you can see with the camera, I can see those lines. So what I'm looking for is my first crease.
Okay.
And I'm going to,
But you could draw them on, couldn't you, if you couldn't see
you can,
it?
you can.
You could just...
I didn't think to do.
No, but if you couldn't, if you were doing it at home and you really could, you could draw them on.
You could
draw your lines on.
Look, it's early, and you're the
Yeah.
one that's done the long
And
journey.
I know, I just suddenly thought of that. But actually, as you said, you can see it because it's a crease.
I can see it because it's a crease. And what I'm doing just for the first one, I'm going to go 1/4 of an inch above that first crease because I want to be able to sew along the crease.
Right.
So I'm just going to put a bit of glue, but then I put a bit of glue on the bottom because I want to hold the whole of that piece. And then this is the only piece that is right side facing up. Now, you can't tell, I've always said that with the fabrics that Sewing Street sell, they're such good quality, it really doesn't matter what side you use. But the right side needs to be facing up.
So if you're using one of your own fabrics
right
with
side
a print
up.
on it.
And then we're just going to place it so that it's 1/4 of an inch above that first one. And I want to make sure it covers the section that I'm actually going to be cutting afterwards. And then I'm just going to trim that off.
I think that's why if you don't use glue, it's quite hard, isn't it? You have to sort of keep holding up to the
You
line
do,
and seeing is
you
it
do.
in the right
And I
place.
like, you know me, I like to have everything to be one piece. So, and then all we're going to do, and the next colour is going to be my orange, and I'm going to place it right side down. So this is the only one that's right side up, the rest are right side down. And it's just the way the curve goes. A top tip is to have the fabric just a little bit over this side and more this side, because as you fold it back, it naturally goes that way. So if you've done it right up here, when you fold it, you're going to miss a segment.
Right.
And then what I like to do is I just like to put a little bit of glue, be a little bit careful because that edge is going to be very fragile, and place this down. And then I turn it over, and I'm now going to sew along that crease.
Brilliant.
On there. You do need to reduce your stitch length to about a 1.5.
Okay, quite short.
Quite short.
Why is that, Wendy?
And that's a very good question.
Why is that, Wendy?
That's a very good question.
I feel like I'm a teacher.
Yes.
So, Wendy,
I feel like I'm a pupil.
tell me why you've reduced the stitch length.
Because when afterwards we're going to do some ripping, so I'm going to rip all the paper off the back.
Okay.
It just keeps the seam much more stable, because if I'm ripping and I've got a big stitch, I'm going to have gaps between them.
Okay.
So you want to, when you're working on anything that's got the paper on the back, always make sure that you reduce your stitch length. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to be sewing along that crease down there. Right, let's get going. Yes, I have reduced it.
Yeah, a couple of people have said, what a beautiful pattern. It is.
It's gorgeous,
stunning.
isn't it? It's absolutely gorgeous.
Oh, message from Wendy Durrant. Morning, lovely ladies, 2 of my favourites. Oh.
That's so lovely. Now,
my Lord, Lynette says, good morning from South Africa.
Oh, good morning.
Oh, I bet the weather's nice there.
It's not nice here. See, I love winter.
Yeah, but it's not winter. Well, it is today. But it's not really been winter. It's just been a bit wet.
It was very wet this
Christmas
morning coming in.
Day is supposed to get cold. On the news this morning, it said it was really going to drop down, which is great because it needs to be cold on Christmas Day.
It does need to be cold. It needs nice dog walk. Needs to be cold.
Exactly.
So what I've done, I've got my trusty roller out again. I'm not going to. You can iron if you want to, but I'm finding that the roller is just good for that because you've only got a small seam. I wouldn't, if it was a really big long seam, I would press it because you don't want to be distorting that.
So with this segment, you've divided it equally. Could you divide it non-equally if you wanted to? Does it matter?
No, that's what I was saying. That it is Beth. I keep calling her Beth. It is Beth, isn't it? Yes. Yeah. Beth says that between 5 and 9 work in each segment. So
but could it be?
You could have one that big, and then you could have one.
Oh, that's what I mean. So
you can have them any size you like.
You've done it nice and evenly, but you could just do it randomly. So if you had a scrap that was
random
a
is good. I'm getting better. I'm getting better.
I'm not
random,
very good
Rebecca.
At random.
I'm not very good at random.
I'm absolutely rubbish at random.
But I was thinking, for someone that's just starting out, maybe it's a little bit scary. Just divide it equally. Just keep it simple and have a go. And then next time, because you've already got the pattern,
then you can go more random
and save all your scraps up because it doesn't matter how big.
Because I always have to plan random, and then it's not random. Is
it? No, it's not random. So then, and this is where you were saying that foundation paper piecing is a bit tricky because it's a process, and you have to do the process right. So now we turn it back over.
I don't think it's tricky. I think you just have to concentrate. That's all, isn't it?
I don't do concentrating either. And then what we're going to do, we're going to turn it over, and then where my next fold is, I'm going to fold it back, and then I'm going to, again, I don't think they were in stock. the add a quarter ruler.
Oh, okay.
But if they do come back,
Or
check
just
them in your
cut it
basket.
1/4 of an inch outside.
Or cut
but
it 1/4 of an
They
inch.
are brilliant, those. Have we got those in stock, Hannah?
I don't
love
think
those
we
rulers.
have. We don't.
Oh, yeah, we're going to put them in. We're going to put them in.
Oh,
We are in
brilliant.
stock. 'Cause
Brilliant.
They are a great thing.
Grab them because they are fantastic. They are. And mine is actually very, very old. And now your ones are much more updated and they taper, which are much better.
Okay.
So I'm trying to break it so that I can buy myself a new one.
Yeah.
It's not good.
There
is
you
it?
go. We've got them now. The pack of 2 for £24.99.
Yeah. And they are brilliant. They're the thing that I
Very
use
limited.
every single
They
day.
are. I really need to treat myself because I have to get my
Well, you better
rotary
get in there
cutting
quick if
ruler
they're
out
limited.
and then line it up with the 1/4 of an inch, whereas I could
Or,
just use that.
or you could just cut it, but I like it all to be neat because then you'll find what we're going to do now. We've already now worked our 1/4 of an inch seam out, so we're going to turn it back over again.
Right.
So it's literally a lot of flipping one way and then the other, and then we're going to put our next colour, which is yellow. And then again, I'm going to lay it because I know that I've got my 1/4 of an inch there. I'm just going to put a little bit of glue. And as I say, just do little strokes rather than pull it across because we don't want to compromise that edge.
And we have got the glue pens in stock as well. So that's great. They're just coming in there as £6.99.
Have they got the refills as well? Because you need to stock up on those because
It's
you'll find you
very-
use
no,
it for everything.
It's really good, isn't it? Because actually I don't use the glue after this, but I think you might have changed my mind.
Oh.
I tend to pin, but no,
Well,
I'm liking
John
that.
showed me something, well, he told me something last time I was here about putting it with zips. I don't normally do it with zips, tried it on that, and that's a dream. So now,
With what?
zips, because normally I do a tacking stitch with my zips.
Oh, I see. Gluing zips. Right.
And I glued
okay.
it, and it worked perfect. So I'm doing exactly the same now. I'm just repeating that process. Again, I'm making sure that it's not too far over that, the bigger edge. I don't want it too far over because, as I say, when I turn it over, it's naturally going to
So you
fold
just
that
got
way
to check
anyway.
that it covers.
And then we turn it over again. We turn it over again, and I'm going to sew on that crease again. And because I've glued it, it's now stable.
So it won't be going anywhere.
It won't be going anywhere.
It's a lovely process in foundation paper using because it's quite meditative, isn't it? You know, you're doing like the same process, then you take it away and then you turn it over and glue it and then you go back.
Oh,
It's,
dear.
and
Sorry.
you have to concentrate. It's a nice thing to do.
Yes, well, don't worry about the machine.
So a third of the stock of the rainbow bundle has already gone, so unsurprisingly, and there was a lot in baskets. So if you want to buy this, I would put it in your basket and check out. Now, remember, there are 10 colours in here and there's ½ metre of each. So you've got 5 metres of fabric in your bundle, including the pattern. And obviously, you make this your own. So let me just put just the rainbow one. So you get the 10 ½ metres of fabric and the pattern. And they are beautiful, aren't they? But there's enough fabric, as Wendy said here, to make the whole thing. You don't have to put your own fabrics in there. But if you want to, or you could just add a few if you think just here and there, actually, while the centre ones, while I'm getting used to, I'm going to use just whole segments. And as you move out and you get a little bit more confident, you think, oh, I've got a nice purple, I'll just pop in there. But it would be a really nice memory quilt as well. You could use little scraps and pieces.
That would be amazing.
Of, you know, things that if you, there was a particular person you wanted to remember. People are often saying that they've used people's shirts and clothing to make into things. That'd be ideal for it.
That would be
wouldn't it?
fantastic, wouldn't it?
Or as a baby, you know, if you had sort of favourite items of your children's clothing.
Oh, that would be lovely. That would be lovely.
Then you could make that. I mean, it'd be a lovely play mat, wouldn't it?
Oh, yes.
Because it's circular. Great play mat.
That would be a brilliant play mat. And I know
We've got a question.
Oh, okay.
What's the question? How much backing fabric does this quilt take, Wendy?
Is it on the instructions?
She's laughing now. Is it on the instructions? One moment.
Yes, good one.
It is on the instructions.
Good one check, please, madam.
See, look, Wendy didn't get that far. There is a limit. There is a limit to how many pieces she could cut out. Right, so everyone checks out, the rainbow quilt is on single figures. I'm just going to tell you how much backing fabric you need. You will need a variety of fabrics.
That's not helping us, Rebecca, is it?
Well, I'll tell you, I'll work it out. The finished size is 46-inch diameter. Now, I always like to add an 8-inch, 4 inches either end, so 8 inches. 46 plus 8 is 54, so you need 54 times 54 inches.
Wow.
Which in metric is quite a lot. It's about, 50, Hannah, what's 54 times 2.54?
That was very nice.
Times 2.54. Right, so 137 centimetres by 130. So you'll need 1.5 meters, but only if it's 1.5 meters wide. Otherwise, you're going to have to cut and join it. So you would need, if you were buying normal width fabric, you'd need to buy 3 meters, but obviously you'd have quite a bit left over. So that's about how much you need it. And don't forget, you'll need the same in wadding as well. Now, we have got wadding. We've got cotton batting, got the Hobbs Heirloom cotton batting. Now, this is not a lie, but this is the one that I use.
Yes, I use that one as well.
You use this one as well. Wendy and I both use this one. So although it says it's cotton polyester mixed. It's 80% cotton and 20% polyester, and they do that to give it the little bit of strength. It is a beautiful wadding to use. And what's the size of this? Oh, 90 by 108. Oh, you've got absolutely loads, because I said you need about 54. So you've got almost twice as much as you need there, and it is absolutely beautiful. What I would do whenever I've used this is piece it all together, quilt it, finish it, and then chuck it in the machine, but on a cold wash. Don't be tempted to put it on a warm wash. Put it on a cold wash. Luckily, my machine does a cold wash. If your machine doesn't do a cold wash, then wash it by hand, cold, and then I just spun mine in the machine. I didn't even tumble dry it. And then I hung it over the banisters because it was raining. Didn't hang it on the line. And it's beautiful. It all sort of puckered
That's
very
my
slightly.
absolute favourite, that is.
Because it shrinks only by about 3%, but it just shrinks just that tiny amount that it looks like an heirloom quilt.
It's gorgeous.
But you mustn't wash it before. Do not wash it before. I'm actually not sure how you would wash it before. It would be a bit odd. I don't know, but I didn't. I always quilt it, bind it, finish the whole thing, but wash it on a cold wash. And if you're giving it to somebody, make a label that says wash on a cold wash.
Make sure you do that.
Because but it does. I was worried it wouldn't, the first time I did it, that it wouldn't. It doesn't shrink loads. It just makes the quilting. It just gives it that slightly puckered look. Beautiful.
No,
anyway, this is my favourite wadding. So buy that. And actually, it's really useful because you'll have stuff left over there if you make the quilt. And it's really good for cushions and bags.
It is.
Wendy, you've got 10 minutes,
Oh, right.
Which is
So
my fault for talking.
That's okay. So I'm just getting on to the last one. So I've just been carrying on doing exactly, so if you just keep replaying, it's just a repeat process. And that's the great thing about foundation paper piecing. It is, you just literally repeat, repeat, repeat.
Yes, and it's really nice. So once you get your head around that first one where you're going backwards forwards, then you get really into it, don't you?
Oh yes, I just get completely lost in the moment with it.
And I think that's when you start going, oh, what else can I add into this?
Oh yeah. So with the last one, I just put a bit of glue on the end for the last one because all these ones have been sewn down and they're stable. So I just want to make this last one stable.
Oh, of course.
You're looking a bit strange at me there, Rebecca.
No, I get that because it's on the end.
Exactly.
So it needs to stay still,
So
and that's where the glue really makes a difference.
I've got glue at both ends, so I'm going to cut.
I'm liking this. I might be converted.
Now, please, 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 I have a pair of scissors for everything. These are my paper scissors. They look like my fabric ones, but my fabric ones got a little ribbon on them. Don't use your best scissors on these because what we're going to do now is, yes, we are cutting fabric, but we're also going to be cutting paper. And you just...
Oh, because you cut the paper bigger.
Because I've cut it bigger. If I hadn't have cut it bigger, then I'm not going to get that crisp edge that I'm looking for now.
Right, so because you're trimming, and that's why the glue, so if you don't have glue, I guess you could pin it.
Absolutely.
But
or what you could do is you can just put a tacking stitch,
yeah,
a big tacking
just a
stitch.
big tacking stitch on
You
the
just
end.
want to keep it
because
at the
you
moment.
want to trim this so it's perfect.
You do.
I like that. That's a really good idea to not cut the template to size, just until you finish.
I don't know, I don't know what Beth says to do, but I've always done that. I've always thought, well, I want a really, really sharp edge, which is now what I've got because I have cut it.
Yeah.
And also it forces me to have a little bit more fabric than I need, and then I know that I'm not going to have gaps. Because sometimes with foundation paper piecing, you think you've got the fabric in the right place, and then you turn it over and it's all wonky.
And I've done that many times.
Yeah.
And unpicking when you use a small stitch is quite hard. Because it rips the paper, doesn't it? And I've done that many times. So I think, oh, that's enough, and it's not enough.
So now I've got my 4.
That looks fantastic.
It looks amazing, doesn't it? And at the moment, I'm still keeping the paper on because it's very unstable at the moment. And I'm just going to put right sides together.
Okay, so you make, is every ring made in 4?
Some of them, it states on here. So that one is 4.
So the smaller
that one's 8,
okay.
and then as you get round, the bigger the quilt.
And the rings as well are different heights as well.
And again, so this one is perfect to showing this one. Sorry to mess you about. So that one has got a really skinny one. Then it's got a fat one, and then it's got like a medium. So they're all different, but that's what gives the quilt the depth, which is fantastic.
Because I thought, because some of them, the colours are sort of jagged, but that's because you've got one colour moving into the next
That's
ring.
what you, so if you're using your fabrics at home, that's what I was saying about, you start off with your base colour, and then you add the same tones, and then you add one from a different tone, and then you carry that different tone on in the next ones, and that's what gives that depth.
Okay.
And then all we're going to do, we're going to put these, and I'm still using the 1.5 stitch length, and I'm just going to put right sides together, and I'm going to sew along the line, but obviously I need to sew from the edge because it's that's my 1/4 inch seam allowance. So then I sew to the end, and I'm just doing a reverse stitch at the end here because I don't want these to come apart. So I've now sewn the 2 together, and I'm just going to do that on all the 4 pieces. Do you know, I'm very, very fortunate to have my own room that I don't allow anyone else in.
So do I. The dog keeps coming in.
Oh, he does. That's why everything's covered
and goes under the table. And I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Yes.
Yesterday I was working on my machine, preparing some stuff for show on Wednesday. And I was in a real rush, and I stood up and I tripped over the cord of the pedal, fell onto the ironing board. The ironing board fell off onto the desk, and all the water went everywhere. I thought,
oh my
good
goodness,
day,
I
good
did
day.
that. I did that yesterday. I had water everywhere.
I've never ever thought, and I thought, oh, God, what if I was worried because it pulled the cord out of the machine. It was fine, it did work, but to then fall into the ironing board, and then the iron fell on the floor, and there was water everywhere. I thought, it was like a Carry On film, and I can't even blame it on the dog. It's because I was in a rush.
I know the dog did something. No, the dog did something when we were talking on the phone one day. You went, I've got no screen.
Oh yes, she did. Yeah, I did. That's true. We were talking about something. I don't know what she was under the desk, and suddenly there was all this. It just sort of went bang a bit, didn't it?
So now I've done my 3, and all I'm going to do, just make sure at this point that they are not twisted, and then we just put the last 2 together to create a circle.
So you don't, so you make your ring and then join
ring.
that to previous rings.
Yes.
You don't join segments of rings.
No.
Okay.
No.
Oh, I really want to make this.
I've had such fun making this. And as you know, I'm not a quilter, but I'm already taking it, I would say, to the next level. But because I've simplified it, and then we've now got our next ring, and then all you do is you remove the pieces of paper.
Oh, so do you do that before you sew it?
So before you sew
the previous ring,
you'll find it much easier. And this is the most time.
So why do you take that off now before you sew it to the previous one? Is it too tricky otherwise?
Because this is rigid at the moment, and I've got no flexibility.
Of course.
And trying to make, it's a bit like making a square peg fit in a round hole, this next part. So you might need, I have a tip where you put it all in, and then if you've got a little bit left over, and you'll see what I mean in a minute if that happens to me, then you just start going round the round again and adjusting it, and eventually it does fit.
Ah, okay. So it's because it's foundation, you can't curve.
No.
Right.
And also,
which is a shame.
It is, because it would make it a lot more stable. And as you can see, I thought I'd picked up the right photocopying paper, but this is quite rigid.
I know, but what's nice about that is it's really difficult removing the papers when you've got lots of angles and they're in seam allowances and you've got to try and pick them out with tweezers. But at least you've got whole pieces there.
Yes.
With only one seam.
Definitely.
Rather than when you do some FPP, you've got all these seams going in and...
Oh, yes. But I love foundation paper piecing, because when you put all the sections together, it all just comes alive.
I do. I think the only reason people don't like it, which I didn't, is because you think it's difficult, you don't understand it. It's not difficult.
It's a process, isn't it?
It's just lovely.
It is. It's a process, and I'm absolutely hooked on it, and I'm already making lots of different designs with them. I did treat myself to the programme, so now I've got the programme.
Did you?
I did, yes.
What's the programme?
It's a quilting programme. So
and it does FPP?
I can, yes.
Really?
Basically.
Oh,
yes.
Oh, I would like that.
And you'll see that I'm using Juki today, so I was lucky enough to get my new machine as well. So
did you? Was that a present to yourself?
No. That was a birthday present, but it's not actually a birthday present. It's a birthday present, a Christmas present, next birthday's present,
right.
Next Christmas present.
So for the next 10 years?
Yes, basically.
And when did it arrive?
On Friday.
Oh, is it actually out of the box?
Oh, yes. Oh, well, that's the only reason I'm using this today.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yes.
When I got my new machine a few years ago, it stayed in the box for a couple of weeks. I was a bit scared.
But a lot of people do that. I couldn't wait. I don't know. I just couldn't wait. I heard it had arrived, and it's like, I've got to get home. So I was out at the time. So yes, this is the most boring part of the whole process.
Oh, but it's nice though, isn't it?
Yes. And my floor is covered
it's a bit like taking the papers out of EPP, isn't it? It's like,
I love it.
It's revealed.
But just be a little bit careful, because especially if you're doing 9 in each segment, and again, it's entirely up to you. You don't have to be as regiment as I do. I just found that it was easier to fold the paper so that I had equal segments.
Yeah.
But if you are, especially if you are adding your pieces into it, you'll find that you'll have an awful lot of seams in some of the cases, so you don't want to be putting pressure. So now, we've got there. Now we have our next round.
You've got a minute. That's fine. She'll have finished the quilt.
Yeah, really. I've finished it by then. And then all we're going to do is you place it where it needs to go, and then you turn this down over.
Oh, okay, so you sew right sides together,
you
but
sew
you just
right
ease
sides
it
together,
round.
and then you pin. And a top tip is to make your pins go inward, not outwards, because you'll keep pricking yourself. And you don't want to put any pressure on those seams, just in case you haven't caught any at the end, because I can see I haven't quite caught that one.
Right, okay.
So you don't want to be stretching them. And then you go all the way round, and then if you find that you've got a little bit baggy at the end, then you just start taking them out and just ease them around.
Bit. So it will fit?
It will fit. They should all fit, but don't forget, again, I've only got 8 in each segment. If you're putting loads and loads and loads, then each of those, if you haven't sewn them exactly on the line, they're going to be slightly out.
But it will fit, you just have to...
It will fit, and then what I'm going to do, in the break, I'm going to finish this and turn it into a cushion.
Fantastic, fantastic. That's brilliant. Thank you, Wendy. I love this. Love it. I want one of these. I have to take the instructions with me, won't I? I think they'll notice. I say that every show I do, though. I think I'm going to take that home with me. So we will see you back at 10 for puff cushions.
And can I just say as well, today... I don't know if you've seen me modelling.
Oh, I love your Christmas T-shirt. Wendy, tell us about your Christmas T-shirt.
This T-shirt was actually designed by a young lady called Addison, and she's drawn the images for me. And it's a little bit high, I do apologise, but I thought I was smaller than I was, so I wanted to have it nice and high so you could see it. A little girl called Addison, who is brilliant. She is only 8.
Oh.
And has designed this. So thank you very much for designing it for me, Addison. It's gorgeous, isn't it?
It is beautiful.
So I have my own designer.
Oh, wow.
I do,
So that is actually designer wear.
It is
designer wear.
Designed by Addison.
Well, it's beautiful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Addison. It's beautiful. And I would like one too.
Oh, I'll make you one. Oh, no, I have to get the designer's permission first. I'm sorry.
After
I've asked the designer.
You know, this is an exclusive design. Is. So it's beautiful, really beautiful. Thank you, Wendy. So I'm just going to run quickly through the bundles. So the rainbow bundle to start with, remember you get all the instructions, which has actually got all the templates within it. You will need to photocopy them because it's foundation paper piecing. You don't want to be using these. But everything you need to do to make it is in there with all the instructions. You've got 10 half meters, so 5 meters in total across the whole rainbow palette, but it's not your sort of full-on primary palette. It's a little bit softer than that. So the red is more of a sort of a rusty, deep pumpkin colour, and then the blues and the greens and the yellows are a little bit softer, so it's not full-on rainbow. There is enough fabric in here to make the whole quilt, just the front, not the back. You will need about 1.5 meters of fabric for the back, but for the front. But remember, you can make this your own by using fabrics from your own stash. Use this as the colour, the inspiration of where to start with, and then add your own fabrics, because you can see from the quilt that we've got here, and there's a picture on the front cover, so when you get your kit home you can have a look. You know, it gives you some inspiration to use your own fabrics, make it into a memory quilt. Use fabrics that you use from your favourite projects or for some favourite clothes. It's a beautiful circular quilt, look lovely on a bed. You could put it on the floor, it could be a play mat, put it on the table, but look beautiful on a Christmas table, even in those bright colours, or on any round table. But it's the nice thing about a circular quilt is quite multi-purpose. It looks lovely as wall art as well. Always remember, quilts do not have to be on beds. They can be wall art. And then we've got another colourway, which is the monochrome colourway. So again, you get the full instructions in there, and you get 10 half meters. Now in the instructions there are all the details about making the quilt, but it does also give you the instructions about making the cushion, which is the smaller circle. So you can do that if you only want to make the small one, or you could practice and do the smaller one and then move up to the full quilt. In the monochrome bundle, which is lovely, so it is black, grey and cream, there's a couple of pops of purple in there as well, which gives it a lovely, really clean but bright winter feel. And if you buy it today, you can call it your winter solstice quilt, because you bought it on the winter solstice. They should have called it that, shouldn't they? Because it's a lovely name. But that's a beautiful colourway. And again, use this as your starting palette to take the fabrics from your own stash and add it to it. But there is enough here to make the whole thing. So if you add in fabrics from your own stash, you will have some left over, so you can make a matching cushion. So that's always a thought. We've also got the wadding, which is the heirloom premium cotton batting, which is a cotton polyester mix. You will have more than enough here to make the whole quilt. Let me just show you. There's more than enough here to make the whole quilt, but which is great, because I use this in all sorts of things, from whether it's just a small zip purse to a bag to a cushion. It's beautiful because it quilts really easily, which is why it's got the polyester in it, to give it a little bit of strength and a stability. Then when you finish your quilt, you can wash it on a cold wash, and it will shrink just slightly to give it that really lovely heirloom look. But it is a beautiful wadding, and it's good to always have this sort of stuff in your stash, because you use it for lots of other things, and rarely ever make, even if it's just a tote, because it's very, very thin wadding, it just gives it a bit of body. But even if you're making a little tote bag, it will always look better for a little bit of wadding in it. Early bird. If you missed it earlier, let me just get it to the desk. If you missed it earlier, if you weren't with me at the crack of 8, we are only in our teens of what we've got left. So in here are 50 spools in 50 colours, which works out at 89 pence a spool, which is a bargain, an absolute bargain. This is a 40 weight thread. Now the normal thread you'll use in your machine for sort of machine piecing and patchwork and applique is a 50 weight. So this is slightly thicker, because the higher the number, the finer the thread. Just a little bit thicker, but not so thick that you can't use it for normal piecing. But it works really well for machine embroidery, applique, top stitching. But it's a great stash of thread. It's got 50 colours. It's got all the neutrals. So it's got black, white and navy and some beiges and creams. But it's got loads of different shades. So it's got, I think there were 8 different greens and 5 different blues and red and orange. And, you know, so shades that you might not necessarily have in your stash. You might not have that lime green, and you might not have that lovely gold. But if we did at 8 o'clock, we did a little price comparison. So this is a special offer because it's £5 off, but this was one that we found on another website, and that's £60. So even when ours didn't have £5 off, it was cheaper. But even at that price, it's still an amazing value, because it all comes in this storage box, and they don't move around. If you see, they've all got little spindles to hold them. So when you've used these, you can use this as a storage box for your own threads as well. But it's just, you know how it's really irritating when you haven't got enough thread and you haven't got the right colour, but also because there's 500 metres on a spool, that will take you through loads and loads of projects. But right, so everyone who's got these in their baskets, once they've checked out, there are only 8 remaining. So it is going to sell out before the end of today's show. So if you want it, put it in your basket and check out. Right, whoa, look at the time. We have got Tula next, loads and loads of Tula. You are going to love this show. Well, I will, because I love Tula, but there's some really lovely fabrics. And we've got Delphine's patterns on their own, which you talked about earlier, but I'll go through in a minute. So I'll see you in a couple of minutes. Go and get yourself a cup of tea and a piece of shortbread, and I will see you in 2 minutes. Bye-bye.
Christmas is going to be a little bit different this year, but Sewing Street will be here to keep you company from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. on Christmas Day. Help me, John Scott, spread some festive cheer by sending in your Christmas messages for us to play on air on Christmas Day. Whether it's a message to your fellow Sewing Street fans or to a loved one, a video message or text, we want to hear from you. Send your videos, photos and messages to studio@sewingstreet.com by Tuesday the 22nd of December to be included and be a part of Sewing Street's Christmas Day celebrations.
Hi, my name's Jules Mayouf and I'm really excited to be a guest designer on Sewing Street. Okay, I got into sewing through my grandma. I used to sit and watch her. She was a dressmaker, and I started off making toys, and then I was dressmaking myself, and from then I've done homeware and children's wear and all sorts of different things in between. I would say my top tip is to be kind to yourself. It's only fabric at the end of the day, and if things do go wrong, then you've always got your quick unpick. My claim to fame is that in 2012 I was a VIP driver with the Olympics, and I met some really interesting people who were very nice, and I'm hoping that I'll meet some very interesting and nice people on Sewing Street too.
Hi, I'm Wendy Orlando and I'm a craft blogger. You can find me over at thecraftyco.com, and if you do head on over and have a peep, you will see that I'm a tutorial blogger. I do all kinds of crafts, but my passions are crochet, knitting and sewing, which I've done for over 45 years. In that time, I've made lots of mistakes, but I have learnt lots of tricks and top tips that I can't wait to share. What I'd like to bring to the Sewing Street table is to show that you don't need to have gone to university or have a degree in design to be able to sew. You just need passion, a bit of courage to take the first steps, and a whole lot of patience. Oh, and an unpicker. You will need an unpicker. I do hope that you will follow me as I take my Sewing Street journey, and I look forward to seeing you all again soon.
If you'd like to get in touch with us during our live show and send in any messages or any questions, then you can do it on studio@sewingstreet.com. Alternatively, you can message us on our official Facebook page.
And welcome back to Sewing Street. We've got a Tula hour now, Tula loveliness. And I love Tula fabrics because I met her when I went to Houston to the International Quilt Festival last year. And she's the loveliest most talented lady. She's wonderful. So I'm really pleased to be doing this. I'm going to start off with the instructions for the 2 cushions, which I have here. Designed by our own lovely Delphine. This is the Highland Cow. And the lovely thing about this is it's all made using really small pieces and little scraps. Isn't that lovely? He's just like such a cute, fluffy Highland cow. He's got his hair in his eyes and he's holding a little daisy in his mouth. It's lovely. I mean, I know it's been extremely popular with all of you. We put it on air quite a few times, but we have only ever done it with the instructions and the fabric as a kit. Lots of you have said, oh, I've got loads of fabric already, or I want the instructions. So we have begged, and this is the first ever time we have been able to sell these instructions on their own. So I'm going to show you, there is the Highland Cow and the unicorn. So you can see from these are made using the Tula. I'm just checking. Yes, they are made using the Tula fabric. Obviously, you can use any fabric you want. It doesn't have to be these bright colours. You could do it in natural colours. So you could, I mean, I was thinking the Highland Cow would look wonderful in tweeds and cords. You could do it in real neutral colours, or you can use these beautiful bright Tula colours. You could do it in monochrome colours, do it in one colourway, just in blue or pink or green. But because we haven't had the instructions before, you've had to buy it in the kit. Today only, we have these all really nicely. Oh no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be able to do that. So these are the instructions. Shall we have a quick squiz? There are so many of you. We knew this was going to be popular, but not quite as popular as it is. There are so many of you wanting this. So let's look at the unicorn first. Let's put him in the middle. There we go. So it's everything you need to know in here. It's what fabric you need. It tells you what fabric that you need to make the main design, how much background fabric, wadding, everything you need. All the photos, full colour walkthroughs with pictures, all the measurements you need, everything, the seam allowance. It's lovely, isn't it? Where it says, I like my cushions nice and plump. So this finished piece is 18-inch square and I used a 20-inch cushion. It's got a lot of Delphine's personality in it as well. But then there's all the templates as well. And this is obviously something you can't create yourself. So even if you think, well, I could have a go at that, these are all the templates. Trace them. Don't cut them out, though, because you want to keep this. It's beautiful. It shows you how the whole thing is pieced together. Hair, A, B, C, and D. It's got a lot of hair. The unicorn. So everything you need to know is in there, and this is the first time that you've been able to buy them. So should we go to the cow now? I think the cow is my favourite, and I think that's because he's got hair in his eyes. I've seen lots of pictures of you who have made it and put it on our Facebook site. I've seen it in people have made it into bags, sewing machine covers, cushions, all sorts of different things. Seen it in loads of things. In fact, I'm sure somebody made it into a t-shirt, or it was definitely a piece of clothing. I can't remember what now, but it is lovely. I think I love it in the Tula, but I would make it in tweeds and cords. It would look lovely, wouldn't it? Even a piece of wall art, you could just make that and frame it. It would look beautiful. It's lovely, isn't it? Yeah, in these colours, it's very modern, isn't it? Like a piece of real modern wall art, but you could make it more traditional. And I like the fact that Delphine really holds your hand as you go through. I mean, there are 27 photos. So it really does take you through it step by step by step. But it's not just the instructions you need, it's the templates. There we go. So if you go onto our YouTube site and search Sewing Street Delphine, that will take you to all of her shows, and then you can pick out the one where she's demonstrated this. So once you've got the instructions and you've chosen your fabric, which is going to take you ages because there are so many fabrics, how are you going to decide? That'd be the difficult thing. He's just so lovely, isn't he? But this is so popular. Do we actually have any of them left, Hannah? So it's really, really, really busy at the moment. So over half of the stock has already been checked out, but much more of it is in basket. So if you want these instructions, you know, you can use them for many things. Just have a look through our Facebook site if you want some inspiration of what to do with them. So many of you have made this. Loads and loads of you have asked, and up until now they've not let us sell them on their own. We've sold them in kits. But you know what? It's Christmas, isn't it? Well, nearly. We're nearly. How many days have we got? 4? 4 days. So it is Christmas, so we're letting you have this. Well, not for free, for $9.99. We're letting you buy this as not part of with the fabrics as well. However, if you would like to make it in the Tula fabrics, we do have some of those today, because this would look fantastic in monochrome as well. And Tula does some beautiful monochrome fabrics in her Lineworks collection. So in the Highland Cow look, there's all the pictures. You've got, this shows you the sort of the diagram of how you, once you've cut all the pieces, how it's all overlapped. I love the flower in his mouth. He's lovely. Horn, face, ear, nose. It's very, very easy to understand. So, okay, so make sure you check out if it's in your basket, because we still do have some in stock, but it is extremely limited, and there are a lot of you who have it in your basket who haven't actually checked out yet, so please do. Okay, so just go through the system, put it into your basket, check it out, and then you will be able to get it, hopefully. So should we move on to the Tula fabric, because the cow, let me show you the cow again. This cow, isn't he lovely? He's used, now Tula, whatever collection she has, tends to use the same colour palette, which is always a very bright palette. She features particularly purples and bright blues and greens, and this is from her homemade collection, but it really doesn't matter which collection she has, she always uses the same bright fabrics. Okay, so this one here, so I'm going to start with this one. So now there's a lot of the colours in this fat quarter pack, which is $69.99. In the pack, you get 16 fat quarters. Now, a fat quarter is 20 by 22 inches. So it's half a metre, well, half a yard, actually, because it's American. Half a yard, cut in half, okay? So, in here, you've got that beautiful blue, which is almost like that sort of paper cut fabric. And then you've got a green. Isn't that lovely? But it's beautiful. But the colours in here are very, because they're Tula, they're the same palette as the ones in the cushions I was just showing you. So if you want to make it very if you've bought the instructions for the cow or the unicorn and you want to make it very similar fabrics, these are ideal. These are lovely, aren't they? So you've got this same sort of swirl pattern, but you've got it in a really bright, vibrant green and a blue and a turquoise. This is a lovely one. This has got a real sort of acid yellow background, but then scattered over it are these lovely rainbow coloured starlings. No, swallows. They're swallows. Swallows. Oh, these are swallows and stars, but all in rainbow colours. But I like the rainbow palette that Tula always uses, because they're not red, orange, yellow, green and blue. They're sort of teal and fuchsia. They're the Tula rainbow. There's another lovely one. Yeah, you just know these when you see these. These are like a bit like with Tilda. You know the Tilda colours. These are the Tula colours. I love this spot. It's a real sort of deep ochre colour spot and a lovely background. This is a really nice one. This is a very similar colour to that. You can see how the whole bundle goes together. Again, this pattern is one that we've seen earlier. I'm going to just keep moving them. I'm running out of space. Lovely, I love this one, very hexagon. So these are great for fussy cutting. There's a lot of lovely prints in them. So you can use them by the half meter. You can use them like this. But a lot of the stuff that Tula does, she does lots of EPP herself, and this works beautifully. Can you imagine if you cut these all into the small hexagons and join them together, how stunning it would look? And the great thing is that she's done the colour choosing for you. You don't have to think about, oh, does that colour go with that colour? Because you know that they do. This colour, this print here is the same as the first one we saw, but it blends beautifully with that one and with that one. It's the same colour palette, but they all go together. Love it. I love her spots. She doesn't do polka dots. She does mammoth polka dots. Mammoth ones. Look at that. But with the red. And that red is such a lovely pop of colour in amongst all of these sort of blues and greens. We've got another one with this sort of swirly print. I don't know what this one's called. I wonder if it has a name. I don't know. It looks like wood or lips. It looks like sort of rings, geode, but it looks like rings on wood. And then you've got a stripe. But the stripe is the same as the spot, same colours. They look amazing together. So you could buy this and make something with it, make a whole quilt from it, or just keep it and use them in pairs. So that one goes beautifully with that one. And then we've got the final stripe here. Look, same as that spot. But they all go together well as a whole pack, but you can also pick them out. So if you wanted to use them in 2s or 3s, you wanted to use them for different collections, there's a lot that will go together, but the whole bundle goes together as well. So this is ideal. If you've bought the Highland Cow or the Unicorn instructions, this is perfect to make a very similar cushion to the one that Delphine made for the original, or just to have them in your stash is wonderful, isn't it? Oh, so Beverly's just messaging to say that's called mineral. Well, I suppose because it's got the swirls, isn't it? Like minerals have in them. But it does look, it makes me think of tree rings. But when you look at it really closely, I'm sure it's got the shape of lips in it, which is probably because a lot of Tula's fabric have a real sense of humour to them. There's often, when you look at her fabrics very carefully, there's often little things within them, just small elements, that, like, she'll often put within her fabrics little animals, and you have to search really carefully to find them. Look at this. I'm folding them all up nicely. I did a show on Saturday, and I had Tim Holt's fabric. Honestly, it took me 10 fabrics to work out how to fold them, which is why I can never fold up a map. But look at that. That's beautiful. But you can see them all again as I'm doing these. Aren't they lovely? They're just a really nice collection to have in your stash, that even if you're not going to make a whole quilt from them and use them all together, which you could because they go, they're just really lovely things. So if you wanted to add a little pocket to something. But if you've already got some Tula, because she uses that her colour palette, the Tula colours, then it goes together really well. But if you wanted to add a little pocket to something, just the front of a dress or something, these are perfect because they just add a little bit of quirkiness. And I think choosing these colours, I think it's not only her choice of colours, it's quite hard to find other fabrics in these colours because they are very unique. Right, I'm just very quickly, Hannah's just told me the cow is about to sell out. That sounds like something in code. I will meet you by the park bench at midnight. The cow is just about to sell out. So the Highland Cow instructions for the applique cushion are just about to sell out. $9.99. This is the first time we have ever let you have these, let you buy these as instructions alone, only because Hannah begged, and they just got bored, and it was Christmas. So we've always sold them before with fabric. We still have we have more stock of the Unicorn. The Highland Cow is nearly gone, so if you want it, pop it in your basket very quickly and check out, and then it's yours. You can make your own cow or more because you've got the instructions. Just trace the template. Yeah, you could make him. If you use the glow in the dark fabrics, he'd look fantastic, wouldn't he? But it works with loads of different fabrics. Depends what your taste is. So that's the two. We've done the Tula. Can we do the line work one now? No, I mean, we've done the fat quarter bundle. So we've got this lovely, I'm just going to make it up now because I like this one. I've got this lovely design roll. Beautiful design roll. So this is really unusual for Tula. This is the first time I've ever seen her doing anything in monochrome. It's called Lineworks. This is so in the design roll anyway. I'm not going to unpack it. You get 40 pieces. Now these strips are 2.5 inches wide and they're cut across the full width of the fabric. normal fabric is 44 inches wide, 112 centimetres. So they're that full width, but they're 2.5 inches wide, every one, which makes it really easy because they're pre-cut. And there are 40 pieces, but I'm not allowed to undo that one because you never get them back. So I'm going to show you now. Obviously, this is monochrome, but of course it's Tula, so it's not just monochrome, is it? It's got the Tula rainbow colours in it. Now you get 2 of each of the prints. It's lovely. I mean, it's beautiful. If we so she's got things like this one here, where it's all the geometric, but then each of the hexagons is filled in with the Tula rainbow. But shall I show you? This looks like you've only got half a strip, but remember I said to you at the beginning, it is the full width of the fabric, like that. I love this one here because this is like part of Tula's design process. It's like her notebook. So it's got the grid like graph paper, and it's got her sketches of the animals that she's going to put in it. I mean, and these are, she's a fantastic artist. There's the signature Tula swallow, and you've got the zebra and the panda. And then when you pop it into the collection, so you see, look, there's the zebra of her idea. And then there's one of the fabrics, and it's the zebra. But it's not just your black and white zebra. She's coloured in some of the stripes. There's always a bit of interest and whimsy and quirkiness. There's the panda. He's hiding in amongst scallops. Isn't he lovely? I'll turn him that way. You can see him. Look at his little face. So this is perfect for doing things like log cabin. You can join them all together. There's lots and lots of different books and patterns you can buy that use design rolls, which is lovely. So easy peasy. You buy the design roll, you make a quilt. But also they're perfect for things like fussy cutting in EPP because you can cut out the small elements. The other thing that 2.5 inch strips are brilliant for is binding. They're perfect for binding a quilt. So what you do is you join them all end to end, but if you join them, make sure you join them diagonally at the end. So when you join 2 pieces together, take one, put the other one like that, sew diagonally across, and then when you open it out and trim the seam, you get a nicer, less bulky finish. If you sew lots of them end to end, you can then bind a whole quilt with them, but it just makes it just a bit more interesting. So it's quite a nice thing that you could use the whole design roll to make one project, or keep them in your stash and use them for little things like binding. So I had a design roll which I just couldn't ever bear to break into, and then I realised actually I'm going to just use it for lots of things. And other fabrics here, this looks like a plain white, but it isn't. It's got a slight print to it. So if I show you the black, one, it's really hard to see with the camera. But if you look at the black, you can just about see it, can't you? You'll be able to see it when you get it home. But if you look at the black one that's just above it, that's got the same print on it in grey, and you can see it better. So it's not just a plain white, it's got a bit of print and texture to it. Then there's, all of these have got colours, but then you've got a black and white spot. I mean, this is just the most beautiful collection, isn't it? We found a price comparison. So this one is $42.99. There we are. You can have a shop around, have a look and see what the different prices are. This is exactly the same here as the one that we've got, and that's £55, and ours is $42.99. Yeah, so that's really good, isn't it? $42.99, marvellous. Bargain. This one, are they, oh gosh, sloths? No, that's not a llama. A lemur. A lemur. They're lemurs. They're definitely not llamas. Those are peacocks. Zebras. Oh, look, that's the same fabric we were talking about before that I said looked like trees. But what's lovely is that she often has, in her collections, there's often a common theme that runs through. Like her spot is always usually a big spot, and she has quite wide stripes. Oh look, there's the sketch of the lemurs. This is my favourite one. I think just because it's hexes and the fact that it's really colour coded all the way through. I just love that one. We sold this by the half metre when we first got it, and it sold out like within seconds. Absolutely love that fabric. Unfortunately, we haven't got that before because you all bought it. See, there's the big spot. I love the big spot. They're beautiful, aren't they? So that's your design roll. Now, we've also got it as a charm pack. A charm pack. Now, a charm pack, if you don't know what that is, can I open the charm pack? No. I'll just show it to you. We're so limited, I'm not allowed to open it because we'll have to sell it. So it's exactly the same fabrics that I've just shown you in the design roll, but they're 5 inches square, pre-cut. There are loads and loads of different patterns you can use the 5-inch squares for. You get 42 pieces in there, so exactly the same as the design roll I've shown you, $16.99. There are more people who've got this in baskets than we've got it. So if it's in your basket, quickly check out. Now, if you were here with me at the beginning at 8 o'clock, we had the hexies. Oh, I love these. I really want to try. I've had a go, and I tried it with smaller ones and I wasn't brilliant at machine piecing hexies together. But you can use them with paper piecing. But you could also use them for applique. Aren't they lovely? So they're 4 3/4 inch hexies. And what that means is that side there, it's the sides. When they describe a hexagon, whether you're buying maybe paper shapes or fabric shapes, the measurement is the side, okay? But aren't they lovely? So they're all exactly the same fabrics as the ones in the design roll that I showed you, but already in pre-cut hexies, and there are 42 of them, so you'll get 2 of each. I think it's 2 of each of the fabrics. Look, there's my favourite one as a hexie. God, that makes the camera go mad. So you've got hexies within hexies, but I love the pre-cut hexies because quite often you'll see pre-cut sort of 5 inches, and you'll see. Should we do a little tessellation? It's a nice word. But you could just do them like this. I mean, you know, they look beautiful together, don't they? You can see they make the most amazing cushion. Quite a stunning bag as well. I'd make them into a bag. I'd make them into a tote bag. I like tote bags. But I always put a gusset in my tote. Always put a gusset in my tote because you know those tote bags you normally get, so the ones that are sort of 16 by 12 inches, which are really useful. They're often just not deep enough, particularly if you take them to the supermarket. So I usually put a 2-inch gusset all the way around and it gives it that little bit of extra depth. Or I'll box the corners to make it have a gusset. But wouldn't this look amazing? You could have, what I would do first if you're going to do this is lay them all out. And then all you need, if you're going to do it with the English paper piecing, you just need the paper shapes. But the other thing you could do, if you wanted to do a bit of crazy piecing, you could lay them all out onto a base piece of fabric, and then you get more from it because you don't need to turn them over, and then machine zigzag over all the joins. So if you used, well, I would just use like just a plain cotton fabric. If I was making them into the bag, I'd want a little bit more body, so I'd put them on just to a plain cotton, like a calico or a lightweight cotton fabric. So if you spray basted them on, even easier, which I think we've got. Well, the spray is, I'm going to be talking about that in the tools hour at 11 o'clock, but it is on the web as well. Or you could pin them all on. And then if you've got them all so they're butting up exactly, you could machine zigzag them on. They'd look fantastic, wouldn't they? And what would be lovely, because of the way that this is done, you've got all the background is black and white with all the pops of colour. If you used a coloured thread in your machine, or lots of coloured thread, and we've got some really nice Tula threads here, you could use that to zigzag between. Or, if you were really creative, you could leave gaps between them. But what I would do is, if you're going to do, because if you leave gaps between them and then you've got maybe, you could use like a bright primary colour behind them, or a black or a white, and then they'll go even further. You could sew them all together like that. What I would say is, if you're going to do that, I would draw lines on your fabric first. spaced the right distance apart, and then you could match them all up, and then the colour behind just shows up between them, and then you could use a thread to go around the edge. But there were so many different things, and if you laid them all like this and you didn't use them for English paper piecing, they'd go even further. But aren't they lovely? There's so many different options of things you could do with these. But if I was going to do it, I would put like a really bright, there's a lot of bright yellow or peaches in here, or the lilac. Put that behind them. Look amazing. You can make a great big floor cushion with these. But they are stunning, and each piece of fabric is almost like a work of art in itself. So you really want to make the most of it. But we've got some Tula thread. I'm going to show that to you. I'm going to leave these here actually, because I want to talk about the Tula thread. This one. Right. So this is no, not that one. Which wasn't concentrated. Not this one. So this is Tula thread, but this is Aurifil thread. Now, if you know anything about quilting and thread, you will know how beautiful Aurifil thread is. A lot of quilters use it because it's fantastic. It's a bit like FPP. I've to start with it when I didn't know anything about it. I thought, why? What is the big deal about Aurifil? And then I use some. It is beautiful thread. This is a 50 weight thread, which means you can use it for all your general piecing, your general sew. It's sort of medium weight, does everything. But you can use it for top stitching as well. And it comes in beautiful colours. Now, what's amazing is although it's a 50 weight thread, it always looks like you get loads and loads on your spool. So there are on each spool 1,422 yards. What's that in metres? 1,300 metres on each spool. You get 12 spools, but what's amazing about these is they're variegated. So it's Tula's palette, but all mixed together. So she picks these. I mean, she has the links with Aurifil. I mean, look at that one there. That is the Tula palette on one spool, isn't it? So imagine if with all these hexes, you decided you wanted to zigzag stitch them down or sew them together or use a top stitch. It would look like you would use loads of colours, but it's just one spool. And that's just one of them. I mean, look at the green one. There must be 5 or 6 different shades of green just in that one spool. And then the pink one. But you can... So should we take the plastic off this one? Oh, I get the treat. I won't be cutting with these. I'm using the point to just pierce them. Before anyone goes, don't cut with your embroidery scissors. I didn't. So these are used for all your general sewing, you know, whether it's applique, but let me show you. I'm just going to undo a little bit so you can see. It's very hard to see the weight. If I put it on a piece of white fabric, there we go. Let me just move them aside a bit. I need to undo a bit though, because so you can see the colour change. But look, as I undo it, look how this colour is changing. Whoa, look at that. It's only when you start undoing it, the colour's changing. I've got to wind this lot back up again. I'm not going to wind all this back on. But look, the colour's changing as you're going along. So you imagine if you top stitched along the edge of something with this, the colour would keep changing as you went along. It would look really lovely. I really like top stitching things. Even if I put just a zip in, I'll always top stitch along the edge of it. Or if you're binding something, and then even if I hand sew my binding on the other side, I then sew with the top stitch. But using a variegated thread like this is lovely. But these are lovely. So I think I'll just break that bit off and put that back in. We'll keep that one. But also in here, so you've got that variegated one I just showed you, but you've got pink, coral, more of a neutrally colour, yellow, green, various greens. But then you've got, I like that one, that's just the plain grey. because that's really useful, isn't it? You need the plain grey for everything. But for things like English paper piecing where you really don't want the threads to show up, or also if you're using maybe a rainbow palette and you think, well, I haven't got any thread that will go with it, I always use for rainbow palettes, or when I'm not sure, a light grey or a very, very pale grey mauve. This is ideal. So this thread is absolutely perfect for when you don't know what colour to use, because it's a multicoloured grey, so it won't really show up as well. Brilliant for English paper piecing when you're sewing all different colours together. So we just got a little price comparison for you. So having a look on another website, £152. And that was reduced from £250. Wow, and ours is $88.99. But remember, you are getting 1,300 metres on each spool. On every spool. Yeah, 1,300 metres on every spool. But although you see, it's a 50 weight thread, so it's the normal weight as any other sort of sewing thread you'll use. But maybe it's because it's so tightly wound. It's Egyptian cotton, which means it's a really long staple cotton, so it's very strong. It's a beautiful thread. When you sew with it and you put it in your machine, you don't get those little fluffy bobbles that you get with other threads. It sews through well, and actually it sits really well. When you're sewing seams, it sort of sits a bit deeper in the fabric. It doesn't stand out as well. So when you're sewing seams, it's lovely. I save my Aurifil thread and use it for just sort of special projects and things that I really like. But if you look up Tula Pink on YouTube, there's some really lovely videos of her in her studio. And she uses Aurifil thread all the time. It's just amazing. It's like she's got every single colour you could ever imagine. But it is a beautiful thread, and I do save mine maybe for sort of special projects, or if I'm doing top stitch I'll use it. But it does work beautifully. If you're making something special, it really is worth using the thread. If you've not used Aurifil before, it is worth the extra money. But actually you are getting ever such a lot of thread in this one box, and if only for that variegated one alone. I mean, that's just stunning. Just that one I want that I've already unwound half of, but that's lovely. But if you haven't tried it before, we've got a little, if you don't want to commit to the whole 12 spools, we do have a smaller one. I love the cartoon picture because it does actually look like that. So exactly the same colours, same collection, same variegatedness, just smaller. So how much do we get? 220 yards. What's that in metres? 200 metres on each spool, which is still a really decent size, because a lot of spools of thread only have 100, 150 metres. So you've got 200 metres on this one. So that's exactly that same variegated thread that I've just unwound. So if you haven't used it and you don't want to commit to the bigger box, then this is just for $33.99. You've got 10 spools. But it is a really good way. I mean, that's how I started. I love these neutral ones. And this one is variegated, but very slightly. So it really works when you're using colours that are all different shades and tones, that these sort of muted greys go together really well. Or if you're using something and you can't find just the right colour of thread, the variegated works really well. But I'd save mine, but they are really lovely for machine embroidery as well. When you're doing machine embroidery and you're going really fast on the machine, I always take the foot off and I'm going super fast over everything, doing zigzag. I mean, like if you're making the applique cushions, those are all attached with a machine. She's used a decorative thread or a blanket stitch. You can do those by hand or machine, actually. But if you did them with using these threads, it would look stunning, because the sewing isn't just about attaching, it's also about decoration. When you top stitch, you do it for decoration as well, and these will really add such an added special touch. But they're just lovely. Nice little gift for somebody. If you know somebody who's into sewing, what a nice thing to own. I would love that. Maybe you've got somebody with a birthday coming up. It's not all about Christmas. People do have birthdays as well. Then that's just a really nice little gift, isn't it? I've got another thread pack here. Again, Aurifil, again, all picked by Tula. This is the Tula Sunrise collection. I love this because it's got 2 boxes in it. So the Sunrise was one of her fabric ranges that she did a couple of years ago. And this thread was selected to go with the fabric range. But the good thing is that Tula does have her colour palette, so it actually doesn't matter. Oh, does that slide out? It's just, I just don't want to rip it. There we go. But because Tula does have her colour palette, this will go, well, it will go with any of the Tula threads. So in there you get 2 boxes. There's one. How come this one opens differently to that one? Maybe I opened that one wrong. There we go. So there's the 2 boxes that you get. The T box has got all the pinks and blues, purples and greens. And then the P box has got reds and oranges and the black and the white. So you've got all the colours of Tula's rainbow there, because her rainbow is slightly different to everyone else's. It's got more, it's brighter, it's more interesting. So she hasn't got green, she's got jade. And then the red is, it's not primary red, it's just a bit more tomatoey. And then she's got the black and the white as well. So again, if you've not used Aurifil before, for $66.99, this is pretty much, this colour range is going to go with any fabric that you've got, isn't it? Really. Perfect with any of the Tula fabrics. Obviously, they go together really well with any of those. Brilliant with her line work collection. So, you know, but this isn't just about, you don't have to have Tula fabrics. This is your whole sort of colour range. You've got the black and the white, but all of the colours in here, even, you know, you've got a bit of olive green there. You've got some burnt orange. There's a lovely mauve and a periwinkle blue. This is a really good thread collection. If you like Aurifil and you want a collection of threads that will go with anything, this is really good. Or if you've not used Aurifil before, honestly, you will love these. I love them. So we've tried to find the pack elsewhere in the UK to try and get, and we are struggling to find it. It's not easy to find. Found it on the river, and how much is it there? Oh, yeah. I mean, not this, the only way we can find is it's coming forward. So that's really expensive. So it's not the easiest thing to get hold of, but it is a beautiful collection of threads. It really is all the colour of the rainbow, and black and white. See, and we're not, you know, the only place you can get it really now is from the States. So it's lovely. I love Aurifil. So it's Egyptian cotton made in Italy. I mean, it's just like the best quality, the best. Which one shall I do next? Shall I do the line work? Got another message from Beverly. I've just got the sunrise thread. You're right. They are gorgeous and lovely quality. I know. I'm right. I know. And I used to wonder, what is all of this Aurifil business about? Then I use them. It's a bit like that with things though, isn't it? When people say, oh, this is great, and then use it. And sometimes actually they say that and you use it and you think, nah, it's not. Actually, I'm not that fussed about it. But honestly, Aurifil is worth it. There are some things that aren't worth the money, but Aurifil is. Yes, but obviously I won't be allowed to say that when I go, do you know what? This just is not. Just do it. Yes, when I get products where they go, this is not worth the money, they go, okay, so we won't give this to you. We won't give this to you. Look at this lovely bundle. Is this a bundle or is this ½ metre? I'm going to have to move my hexes out of the way now. Not looking forward to packing those back up together. That'll be fun. So these fabrics, we had the whole of the line work collection, which we sold by the ½ metre. And these are the only ones we have left by the ½ metre. So, shall I show you this one? If I open it out, you'll see it much better. It looks like it's just a black fabric, but no. It has the Tula swallows, stars, spots, hearts. You can't really see it very well on camera at all, can you? Just looks like black. But they are in a sort of a dark charcoal grey. So this is if you wanted to use a black as a background fabric, then this gives it a bit more texture and volume and interest. So it's really lovely for using, say you wanted to do some primary and you wanted to put a bit of black with it, because it's got this grey pattern on it, it just gives it a little bit more interest. It's beautiful. Or, I mean, it's fantastic as a backing fabric. So this is available at £7.49 for half a metre. And remember, the way that we work is we pre-cut the fabric. The fabrics are all cut to order when we sell by the half metre. So say you wanted 3 metres because you were going to back a quilt, you just put 6 units in the basket, because that's 6 lots of half metre, and then you'll be sent it as 3 metres. You won't be sent it as individual half metres, because we do cut to order. So you can have whatever quantity you want. This is exactly the same fabric, but in white. Oh, that's just a plain white. Right, okay, we don't have the white. That's just a plain white. Okay, this is the black and white stripe. Isn't that lovely? Makes me think of Licorice All Sorts. Or Beetlejuice. His trousers. But it's lovely, isn't it? It's just a really lovely, I think these are 1/2 inch wide, these stripes. They look like 1/2 inch. Shall we get our tape measure out and see whether I'm right or not? Oh, look at that. 1/2 inch wide. That's amazing. So those stripes are 1/2 inch wide. Nice, good, solid stripe. Like that one. But it's lovely with this stripe. Obviously, you can use it horizontally, vertically, diagonally. You can really add a bit of interest. But I do like a really wide stripe. This is that black and white, what's it called? Geoids. Yeah, minerals. Minerals. That I think looks like trees. But it's not. It's minerals. It does look like minerals. You know when you get those sort of pieces of jewellery where you get a piece of stone and is that what they're called? Geodes. And they're cut through the middle. Aren't they lovely? But again, this is great for, you could cut this in any direction if you were using it for maybe flying geese. So you've got triangles going all sorts of directions. It's lovely. There's so much movement in that fabric, isn't there? It's a really good to use as a base fabric. But you can sort of feel like the fabric is moving. So when you use a plain fabric or if you use a plain background, it's just still. It is one colour. But when you've got movement in it, it just adds more interest. We've got a message from Connor. Comma in the Highlands. Do this presenter. Great job, thank you. Oh, is she watching a different channel then? So straightforward. That's really funny. Is that because I say I'd not presented stuff if it's rubbish? I'd really like these. This, yeah, I think that was the one nice comment. All the others Hannah's not shown me. These are lovely together, aren't they? Black and white and black. They make me think of 50s polka dot dresses. But I would buy these 3 together. Should we put them together? No, not that one. That one, no, that they do go, but these are the 3. Look at those together. They're really stunning, aren't they? And then you add a little pop of colour in. I'd then plop in this one. I know this isn't a bundle, but I'm just showing you how lovely that looks when you put a bit of colour. Woo! Woo! That's in the 5/4 bundle. That's lovely, isn't it? But this is nice, you know, this is your monochrome collection anyway. All of these are available by the half metre. And remember, if you are more than half a metre, put the extra number in your basket. So one of them has already sold out. Which one? The black on black. Shall I start singing black on black? What is that song? Should we sing? Yeah, I want my baby back. That song, you know? Oh, they're just not as old as me. Somebody else can sing it. They'll know the one I mean. So we're going to mention wouldn't these, I said to you earlier, wouldn't these look lovely in monochrome? Can you imagine the unicorn in all of these black and white fabrics? He'd look fantastic, wouldn't he? You'd have to put like one little plop of colour in it just to add a bit of difference. But he would look amazing as the but you could use even the one of the charm packs. Have we got any of the 5-inch charm packs? We have got the hexagons. And have we got the design roll left? Because he would look amazing in that. We have got a few of the big. Can you imagine the unicorn in this? Because of all the little strips of fabric, you can join them all together. Do you even for the bigger pieces? So if you look at the size of these pieces, you could piece a few of these, join them together, and then you could cut these out. It'd look even more patchwork. But it would just look amazing. It just depends what effect you want, really, doesn't it? Now I've got a really nice book here. Oh, yes. Funnily enough, this book has got a foreword by Tula Pink. There is a point to this. And the projects in it are made using Tula Pink fabrics. New York Beauties and Flying Geese, 10 dramatic quilts, 27 pillows and 31 block patterns. Now, if you like curved piecing, you're going to love this. Tula's written the foreword about this because Carl Hench, who wrote it, she knows him. He's one of her friends. So she's talked about him and what she likes about his designs and why he's used her fabrics in here. So this is personally endorsed by Tula, and if it's endorsed by her, it must be good. So there's all the normal stuff about cutting out and making blocks and foundation paper, piecing which Wendy was talking to us earlier. And look, they've even got that add a quarter ruler in it. It's a good thing. So there's all that normal stuff, how to do a pleat. So you've got all the basic techniques that you need to be able to create these, and they're actually really good, really use them, very straightforward. Then you've got the projects. Floating orbs. You've got a nice, I always like, one thing I do like in a book is if you've got the whole quilt layout as a picture, because often they have the photo and then it's just always a bit of an arty photo, which is nice, but as a quilter you need this. But it's not just quilts, there's little cushions as well, floating orbs. But look at the fabrics, I mean that's fantastic, isn't it? Actually that one is made using cave fabrics. Beautiful, shot cottons and cave classics. I love these because something like this, you see these with all the flying geese going in a circle. It looks really tricky, but I think because it's foundation paper pieced, it requires incredible accuracy, which I guess is why they've done that. I love the pandemonium pillows. How much is this? $15.99. That's amazing. Look at that. Twin dragons. No, it's just beautiful, isn't it? It looks like, wow. That's wall art, isn't it? Looks really, really complicated, but actually when you look at it, it's broken down, but it's very illusion quilting because you've got sort of one swirl that goes into another and then those blocks are standing out above the others. That is absolutely stunning. I love that one. But then he has done it as a smaller pillow as well, but all round ones. When salt water meets cotton and steel. So actually there's loads of different fabrics used in these. But actually this interestingly is a whole mixture of cave and Tula and cotton and steel all in there. Maybe it's all about the colour palette, but if you like curved piecing or want to have a go at it, or you're inspired by Wendy's show where she showed you actually how you do this is actually quite achievable. But that is beautiful. Crazy Tula. So that is used using her various prints by her and just solids as well. I love the way that some of them are cut out though. So you've got like part of the circle that's cut out into that. So you've got a simple one there. You've got the flying geese one there. They're just liking this book. I am actually really liking that. Seeing spots. Now I could tell you that was cave before without even looking at it. Look at the beautiful flowers in the background of that. It's almost like a study of piecing, isn't it? But it's actually, when you read the book, it does explain it really easily. And, it gives you exactly what you need to cut out, shows you how to create it, how it's done. It's all broken down. So although the finished thing looks like really scary pants, when you actually break it down, it's not so difficult. I love that. They've fussy cut one of the flowers into the centre of that. But I guess what you could do with this book, you could start with one of the pillows and think, well, I'll have a go at that and see how I get on. And then you can move onto the full quilts afterwards. But how many patterns were in here? 10 quilts and 27 pillows and 31 blocks. So for £15.99, that's like only 50p a pattern, isn't it? Foxhole. Foxhole. I think that's because it's got a fox in the hole. I love that. Foxhole pillow. So I guess if you put a panda in the middle, you could call it a panda roll. I don't know why that makes me laugh. It's just quite funny. My dad has this expression about foxholes, which I won't repeat. That's why I'm laughing. I won't repeat that, but if he's watching, he'll know what I mean. But it makes me laugh. Like this one. I guess this one's called sorbet because of the colours. It's really pastel and light. It's clever though, isn't it? Looks really clever. I'd like to make that. People would think I was really clever if I made that. That's beautiful. But if you want to have a go at foundation paper piecing, have a look on the web. A lot of the tools are in there, particularly this add a quarter ruler. You need foundation paper. You can use ordinary photocopying paper, but the foundation paper that we sell is better because the add a quarter ruler is lovely. I've used it a few times before and demonstrated it, and it just has a slight lip for that quarter. You don't only have to use it for foundation paper piecing if you need to add a quarter of an inch to anything, but it's particularly good for this. A glue stick is great. The proper foundation paper is easier than printer paper because it tears better and it sews better. It's just invented just for that. So if you've not done foundation paper piecing, this is a great book. Then they're not like terribly expensive, but just these little tools like the glue stick and the add a quarter ruler make quite a difference for it. So there's the paper. That's $14.99 and you get 100 sheets? Wow. And it is, if you've done foundation paper piecing and you use this, you will see the difference with it. It's lovely, isn't it? Really, really nice. It's great. It's nice when you do techniques like this, if you use the right stuff, it always makes a difference. It's the same with anything, isn't it? If you use the right stuff, it's like a bit like if you're using vanilla essence, isn't it? If you use the real vanilla essence, it's better than that fake vanilla essence. I'm only saying that because I was using some the other day. Just suddenly sprung to mind. Cake. But you can get that fake stuff and the real stuff. It's a bit like foundation paper. If you use the real stuff, it does make a difference. But if you want to create something, and look, on all the patterns and the templates, it's all in the back. You haven't got to draw them out or anything. Well, you'll obviously have to photocopy them because you need to put them on the paper. But everything you need is in there. All the different blocks. They're just like, and I guess once you've tried the blocks, I like this one. They've done one of them that's all in white. So everything else is really stunning. It's done all in bright colours. That one is done purely in white. It does, yeah, but when you see it in reality, but what it is, it's actually white, but white on white print. A bit like the, like this hexie I've got here that looks just white, but it's actually a white on white print. But if you made a whole quilt from that, it's lovely, isn't it? Or even just the whites and the creams. I mean, I don't know, you can't really, it doesn't really show very well, but this one's called Wedding Cake, and it's stunning. It's actually a mixture of whites, creams, and ivories. I don't think it really shows up very well, but when you get the book home and you see it, you'll think, that's amazing. It actually looks like one of those really, really old American heirloom quilts. You wouldn't want to be letting the dog anywhere near your bedroom if that's on your bed though. Top tip. Whoa, got 15 seconds. Where did the time go? So in the next hour we have got Wendy's coming back and we are doing this beautiful puff pillow. It's beautiful. She's going to show us how to do that. It's a lovely technique. Gives you a really squishy cushion. So I will see you in just a couple of minutes. Cup of tea. Are we on shortbread today or fig rolls? Might have a piece of fig rolls. It's definitely fig roll and cup of tea, and I will see you in 2 or 3 minutes.
If you you'd like to get in touch with us during our live show and send in any messages or any questions, then you can do it on studio@sewingstreet.com. Alternatively, you can message us on our official Facebook page.
Christmas is going to be a little bit different this year, but Sewing Street will be here to keep you company from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. on Christmas Day. Help me, John Scott, spread some festive cheer by sending in your Christmas messages for us to play on air on Christmas Day. Whether it's a message to your fellow Sewing Street fans or to a loved one, a video message or text, we want to hear from you. Send your videos, photos and messages to studio@sewingstreet.com by Tuesday the 22nd of December to be included and be a part of Sewing Street's Christmas Day celebrations.
Hi, I'm Wendy Orlando and I'm a craft blogger. You can find me over at thecraftyco.com, and if you do head on over and have a peep, you will see that I'm a tutorial blogger. I do all kinds of crafts, but my passions are crochet, knitting and sewing, which I've done for over 45 years. In that time, I've made lots of mistakes, but I have learnt lots of tricks and top tips that I can't wait to share. What I'd like to bring to the Sewing Street table is to show that you don't need to have gone to university or have a degree in design to be able to sew. You just need passion, a bit of courage to take the first steps, and a whole lot of patience. Oh, and an unpicker. You will need an unpicker. I do hope that you will follow me as I take my Sewing Street journey, and I look forward to seeing you all again soon.
Have you heard about Yarn Lane, a TV show dedicated to knitting, crochet and all things yarn, bringing you demonstrations from our expert guests as well as the latest tools. And find out what's coming up on the show by following us on Facebook and Instagram. Subscribe to our email newsletter or visit the programme guide on our website at www.yarnlane.com.
Hello, I'm Kerry from Living in Loveliness and I'm delighted to be part of the Sewing Street team. I'm based in Wolverhampton and I absolutely love working with fabulous fabrics. In particular, I love working with fat quarters and showing you how to get the most from your scraps. I love bringing communities of sewists together and encouraging people to sew for greater causes. Most recently, we have been sewing for our NHS and key workers. I look forward to bringing you hints, tips and techniques. I'll see you soon.
If you'd like to get in touch with us during our live show and send in any messages or any questions, then you can do it on studio@sewingstreet.com. Alternatively, you can message us on our official Facebook page.
Hi, I'm Wendy Orlando and I'm a craft blogger. You can find me over at thecraftyco.com, and if you do head on over and have a peep, you will see that I'm a tutorial blogger. I do all kinds of crafts, but my passions are crochet, knitting and sewing, which I've done for over 45 years. In that time, I've made lots of mistakes, but I have learnt lots of tricks and top tips that I can't wait to share. What I'd like to bring to the Sewing Street table is to show that you don't need to have gone to university or have a degree in design to be able to sew. You just need passion, a bit of courage to take the first steps, and a whole lot of patience. Oh, and an unpicker. You will need an unpicker. I do hope that you will follow me as I take my Sewing Street journey, and I look forward to seeing you all again soon.
Christmas is going to be a little bit different this year, but Sewing Street will be here to keep you company from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. on Christmas Day. Help me, John Scott, spread some festive cheer by sending in your Christmas messages for us to play on air on Christmas Day. Whether it's a message to your fellow Sewing Street fans or to a loved one, a video message or text, we want to hear from you. Send your videos, photos and messages to studio at sewingstreet.com by Tuesday, the 22nd of December, to be included and be a part of Sewing Street's Christmas Day celebrations.
Have you heard about Yarn Lane, a TV show dedicated to knitting, crochet and all things yarn, bringing you demonstrations from our expert guests as well as the latest tools. And find out what's coming up on the show by following us on Facebook and Instagram. Subscribe to our email newsletter or visit the programme guide on our website at www.yarnlane.com.
Hello, I'm Kerry from Living in Loveliness and I'm delighted to be part of the Sewing Street team. I'm based in Wolverhampton and I absolutely love working with fabulous fabrics. In particular, I love working with fat quarters and showing you how to get the most from your scraps. I love bringing communities of sewists together and encouraging people to sew for greater causes. Most recently, we have been sewing for our NHS and key workers. I look forward to bringing you hints, tips and techniques. I'll see you soon.
And welcome back to Sewing Street for the Puff Cushion Hour with Wendy. We've done this before, it's been incredibly popular, and today we have got 3 different colourways for you to choose from to make this amazing cushion. I love it because it looks so tactile and squishy. But it's actually quite practical because it's really comfortable to sit on as well. Can you see a picture of it there? Isn't it lovely? But it's really squishy. Oh, you've got it on the floor. Wendy's got it on the floor behind her. I don't know, she can put it on the desk now. Brand new colourway. Now you can show it in a minute. Wendy will show it to you in a minute. Brand new colourway for you today. So I'm going to open up the panel. So what you get in your kit, obviously quite important, are the instructions. Okay? Then you get the panel itself. If I open it out, then you can see how big it is. Now, the great thing about the panel is it's got all of these different prints in all of these different colours. So if we were to try and sell you this individually, we'd have to give you like a fat quarter of each of the fabrics. It would work out really expensive. But because all of these are printed on the panel to exactly the size you need, it's much more economical. And you get this great choice of prints. Also, the colours have been chosen by us so that they coordinate. You haven't got to think about colour choice. In your kit as well, you get 1/2 metre of ivory and is that a metre? And 1 metre of navy, which is used for the rest of the cushion. So I love this panel because it's got burgundy, well, more of a plum, I'd say, a damson, like a Victoria plum colour. And then you've got the cream, navy blue, a lovely mustard gold colour, and then this deep sage olivey green. But it's very autumnal, isn't it? But can you see the picture there? That's what it will make. It's clever though, isn't it? You'll be really interested. If you've not seen this before, you're going to love this demo of how Wendy makes it because it's really clever. But it makes such a squishy cushion. So it looks lovely on your sofa, but if you want to make it to put on a seat, it's really comfortable to sit on. So, also you get the wadding. The stuffing, not the wadding. The super soft toy filling goes in it as well because you need that for making your puffs. So that is the Autumn Days colourway. Brand new, today, never been on air before. But we've also got it in this colourway, which is called the Rainbow Puff. Oh, look at that. We've only got a few left of this one. So this is obviously your rainbow: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. You've got it's in spots, a chevron and stripes. So if you want to make a super bright rainbow cushion, ideal to brighten up your room, brilliant for children's bedrooms, this is fantastic because it's really bright and cheerful. But obviously you do get the instructions with it. So you get the panel, which makes up the whole puff cushion. You get 1/2 metre of cream, and then a whole metre of goldy yellow, a golden yellow colour. This is also, another name for this is the biscuit quilt. Have you ever heard of biscuit quilt? That's what this is. This is the third colourway, and this one is called, that one's not the right one. Oh, okay. This just looks slightly different. So in this one, it's just done in a different way, printed in a different way. You've got pink, spots, checks, charcoal. It's quite nice. I do like the pink and the grey mix. So you've got some tiny polka dots. You've got the gingham checks. You've got small floral prints. You've got rose-coloured prints. Nice, nice. But you get both of them. Yes, so it's done in a slightly different way, but it works the same. You just get two long, thin panels. So they're done exactly the same way. It's just this one has been printed as 2 panels rather than 1. But you get it anyway. It's exactly the same. You get enough to make the whole cushion. It's just this is in 2 different panels. But I like that. That's really very bedroom. I think that lovely pink, and it is quite a dusky pink, and the charcoal. Quite a classic, but very, very pretty. Very sort of country, isn't it? But pink and grey, very on trend at the moment. So let's just have a quick look at the instructions. So in all of the bundles, obviously, that bundle comes with 1/2 metre of ivory and then 1 metre of the slate grey as well. And obviously all the instructions come in here. Oh, are we? Well, these instructions come in all the bundles, obviously, because they're part of the kit. So if you want to get them, because they've all got the 5-inch squares printed on them. But if you want to buy, every time I turn that, it goes round. If you want to buy the instructions on their own, you can. Written and designed by top designer Wendy Orlando. Top designer with a designer t-shirt, Wendy Orlando. This is the first time we've offered them on their own. So everything you need to know is in here. It tells you what fabric you need, what your seam allowance is, because although they are in the kit, it does tell you what fabric you need if you're buying the instructions on their own. Full colour photos telling you how to do it, how to make the puffs, how to cut the fabric, how to attach the edging. There's a picture of the finished one, how to make it into the cushion with an envelope back, how to stuff them. It's all in there. Everything you need to know in the instructions. So you can either buy one of the 3 kits in the autumn colourway, the brights colourway, or the pink and grey colourway, or for the first time ever, you can buy the instructions all on their own. Okay, so Wendy, welcome back.
Thank you very much.
Tell me why you designed the puff cushion to start with.
I actually designed it for my mum so
Right.
that she'd got arthritis in her hands, and it's just really tactile. And it's just for her just to have on her lap and tactile. But it's brilliant for when you sit against a chair because it's quite firm. So it just gives you a little bit of support.
Right.
And I just loved it. I just loved it.
See, I was thinking it'd be nice to sit on though, because it'd be really soft.
Be great to sit on. Years and years ago, I made a huge quilt of it as well. So it was just...
Whoa, God, that'd be fun. It'd be like one of those weighted blankets, wouldn't it?
Definitely. I just remember having memories of going to my nan's when I was younger, and she had this massive quilt that was just like really, really thick. So I thought, yeah, I can top that. I can make it even thicker.
That's true, yeah.
But
Or
they
it's
did.
like a big eiderdown. We've had a really nice message in from Alice. She said, I made the puffy cushion 2 years ago. But she put, what did she put? So she put different things in the puffs. So was that sort of like crunchy
And
things?
probably a squeaker.
Or
And
and
crunchy.
you could use different textures and different fabrics for each one.
Because then, I mean, you probably wouldn't want to do that if you were using it to sit against, because every time you go, every time you sit back.
But if you were using it as a play...
If it was me, I'd put like a little whoopee cushion in there.
Yeah, or like a little squeaky thing. But if it was for a play thing, you could use it as a quilt.
Definitely.
A baby, like
You
a
could
play
actually.
mat.
And then, just have different things in there, little squeakers. And then you can get the fabric that rustles. so you can have the
exactly.
rustly fabric. So that'd be brilliant.
There's
That'd be
so
really
many
good.
different things you can do with it, but like you say, so it's very good for supporting your back.
It is,
but
'cause
also
it's-
very
it's-
soft to sit on.
it's very, as
or
you can see, it's
an incredibly heavy quilt. I would look amazing, wouldn't it?
That would look fantastic. You'd need a few kits to do that. But actually, saying that, I think last time, because there's 40 different in the kits, and the reason that you've got the 2 different panels, so the one with the floral one is great because they're actually 2 panels exactly the same.
Right.
So if it was me, what I would do is I would have, there's 20 on each, so you get your 40 still, but I would make 5 plain.
Right.
For each, and I would make 2 cushions with it.
Gosh.
So I'm not sure if you didn't do, because I double up on my envelope backs here just to make sure that they're really nice and stable. But if you didn't want to double up and just use the single thickness, you probably could get the 2 cushions out of it.
That's really good value then, isn't it? So for £24.99, you would be able to make 2.
I'm covered in, it's
You're
like
covered in
everything,
fluff.
I'm always covered in cotton everywhere.
Yeah, no, so
when I
am
greet
I.
people at the door, it's like I'm just covered
I've
in
always
cotton.
got it all over me, and I've usually got it round
Always.
about here
You're
as
very
well.
good today. You're very clean
I
today.
am
I'm
very
not
clean
too
today.
bad yet.
Give it a bit of time, and I'll
but
have fluff all
certainly,
over
that's
me.
what I would do with that one. Is I would probably put the cream rather than the grey.
Do you mean this
that one
grey
there?
one?
Yes. So you've got 2 panels exactly the same.
Yes,
as that
so you've
one.
got, because you need 40 pieces.
You do. So I would use the 20 from each of the panel, and I would put 5 plain in them. So
Okay.
you'd have 2 cushions exactly the same.
So how many are in the there?
There's 25 in each
Oh,
of these.
okay.
So I would use 20 from each of those,
And then 5, and then you'd have enough for 2
and I
cushions.
say I would use the cream rather than
Yes.
the grey.
But, you know, because of these fabrics, there's so many pinks and greys and creams and neutrals, you could just use some fabrics from your own stash, because they're
Absolutely.
only 5-inch squares, aren't they?
Definitely. And so you could make 2 identical cushions with that.
Yeah.
The other ones you can't, because the great thing about these are they're 40, as you were saying. If you went into the store and said, can I have just like a little bit of 40 fabrics, please? They would just, really?
Yeah, well, so this is really economical, isn't it? For £24.99, that's an absolute
Definitely.
bargain.
So the one that I've made for the show,
Okay.
I've used...
It's the new colourway.
It is. This is my favourite. This is just gorgeous.
It's lovely,
It's
isn't it?
completely random. I've just made sure that I've got one of each colour in each row, but I've just positioned them anywhere.
And you haven't got any of the same touching.
I haven't. So I just made sure that there was one in each row
Yeah.
and then one in each column.
Okay.
But so there's it is like a plum, isn't it? It doesn't quite show. Oh, that.
Yeah, it's more like a Victoria plum.
It is, isn't it, with that colour? So I've made sure that I've got it in each row. But that's just me again. I don't do random, so it's kind of random, but it isn't. But the one I'm actually just going to demonstrate, I just wanted to show you, is this one here, is that I haven't used the plum.
Oh, okay.
So if you do have a conservatory or your colour scheme doesn't
You can take one
you can
colour
take one of
out.
the colours out and just use your own colours. Or as you say, if you have plain fabrics of your own choice,
Yeah.
you could dot plain fabrics.
Well, that's
in
nice,
there.
isn't it? I always think, you know, we give them instructions, we give everyone colours, but I always love to see on our Facebook page what people do, and they change it, and you think,
do.
oh, I wish I'd thought of that.
And a couple of times I thought, oh yeah, I should have done it that
I
way.
know,
So-
but then it's nice, isn't it? Because that's what sewing is all about, isn't it? It's about taking some inspiration and then making it your own.
And I said that earlier, that is what it's all about. It's your own interpretation. And as you can see here, there's 25 squares that you need for the cushion, so you have 15 left over.
Right.
So I've made myself a little to put my machine on.
That's lovely, isn't it?
And
oh,
I
yes, so
just-
it's a machine mat or a
It is.
placemat for
Well,
the
it'd
middle
be
of the table.
a very large placemat,
No,
wouldn't
but you'd
it?
put it in the middle of the table, wouldn't you, to put things on?
You would, yes. So I would probably make it too wide and a bit longer, so
Yeah.
long and thin, just so that you
Lovely.
can put
Or,
stuff.
yeah, or a sewing machine mat. Perfect.
And I've just quilted it and bound it. Now that was I always, again, we've all got our own stash. I always have white. It's white and cream I always have
Okay.
in my stash. So you'll have enough to make the front. Again, if you only did a single layer on the back of your cushion, you may even get the backing out.
Oh, okay.
But I can't guarantee
but
that
you
because
might
I
have
did
enough.
use my stash.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, as I say, I like to double up on the back of my cushions, and I think you're just gonna, you've just got the other colourway as well, haven't you? Which is amazing. This is my favourite.
The
I've got
rainbow
two
one.
favourites. Yeah,
Look
I've got
at that.
That's gorgeous, isn't it?
That's beautiful, isn't it?
And again, I've been random, not random.
Yeah, but yes, no, but you started red and then orange, yellow, green, blue, and then that's beautiful, isn't it? It looks like a tray of rolls.
Oh,
You
I haven't
know
had
when you get
breakfast
those,
yet.
and they're all joined together, and then you break them all apart, or you know, with those sort of like lovely crusty white rolls.
don't make me any hungrier
Yeah, but you see,
than
I
am,
come from
Rebecca.
the West Country where we call them a roll, and I know up here they call them, what do they call them? Cobs.
See, I call them a roll, and I'm from down south.
Yeah, so will I, but up here...
Do you think it's because we're posh?
It's because,
yeah,
that's
we're
probably
posh,
what it
aren't
is.
we?
But up here, they call them cobs. They go, do you want a cob? I've no idea what you're talking about. I think a cob is a crusty roll.
I thought it was like a swan or something.
What do you call them? But then, what do they, right up north, they call them something else as well, don't they? We call them rolls, but here you go to the pub and you can have a cheese cob.
Oh no, we have a cheese roll.
Exactly.
No, it's because
we do in Bath
we're
as well.
posh. We're
That's
posh.
what it was. So this looks like a tray of rolls. And then you break them all apart, doesn't it? It's lovely. I do like the rainbow.
I love the rainbow. That'd be great for a children's room.
It would, wouldn't
playroom.
it? But it is really nice.
It's very
Actually,
tactile.
I'm with you. Like, you know, imagine sitting on the sofa watching the telly. It's just,
And
really good.
I'm really,
pincushion.
really sad, and I did get teased a little bit last time. I weigh my puffs out.
No.
So you're going to tease me now, aren't you?
But I can see that because they've got to be stuffed evenly.
Thank you.
I used to not weigh my Victoria sandwiches out. I used to just put them in the 3 tins.
but
then
then, yeah.
started watching the Bake Off, and I do actually weigh them now.
And
So I can see that, because otherwise they would be overstuffed.
well, or understuffed, because
Yes.
the bag that you get is 250 grams, and there's 25 puffs, so that's 10 grams each.
Okay. And that's the right amount.
Well, they have got 10 grams in there. These ones that I did have got 9 grams.
9. Oh, and is there a difference in look between the 9 and the 10?
these aren't quite as firm.
As squashy.
But it gave me a little bit of stuffing left over, so that I then made pincushions, because you can make, if you just have one on its own,
Yes,
you can make a
true.
pincushion, or you could just make a little tiny cushion. So, but 10 is ideal. 10 is
Right,
ideal too.
okay.
Because I like a nice firm puff.
So please remember that. 10. 10
Yeah, and just weigh them
grams.
out.
Just weigh them out.
We'll have everyone everywhere now just weighing their puffs out.
Yeah, but then that makes sense, doesn't it?
Well, you
Because,
don't
know,
want like a stiff solid one and then like
and
a real
also
floppy
you've
one
then
next
got
to
to
it.
keep looking to go, is that one the same as that one? So that makes it better, doesn't it?
I think so. I like to have everything neat. And
In Belfast they call them baps.
do they? Rolls.
There you go.
Rolls.
Rolls.
Yes, rolls. But they're very, very, and the instructions are very simple. But as I always say with all my patterns, if someone is not sure of anything, just message me and I'll help.
And you will help them.
And I will help them.
Wendy will personally weigh the wadding for you. Stuffing and sandwich.
I won't do that.
She will individually.
No,
10
I won't
grams.
do that.
Let's
But
make lots of
I did
promises.
get teased about it because they.
No, I'm with you on that, because it is very hard to stuff evenly.
Well, it is, and
And you
I
only
like.
need little digital scales, don't you, to do it?
I've just got a little pair of kitchen scales, and I was just sitting there weighing my 10 grams out.
I think it's a
And
brilliant idea.
I've made loads, and I will admit it says approximately 250 grams. So sometimes I just had enough, and another time I had some to make another puff.
And you imagine then you realise you haven't got enough, and you've got to start taking bits out of some of them. So right, okay, so where do we start?
The first thing we need to do is cut out your squares. That's
Okay.
the first thing that we do. Now, with the panels, you can just use scissors. You don't have to use your...
Yeah, you just cut along the edges.
You can just cut round them. Because the key is, the backing one is the one that you need to get really
Okay.
exact. You need that to be
and
the
that's
same
done
size.
from the sort of the cream, or
You'll
the
cut it
creamy
out of
coloured
the cream.
Right.
And again, the cream is such beautiful fabric. If you don't want to use the cream and you've got maybe a really thin scrap, it's simply going to back the puffs.
Okay, so you could save the lovely
You
cream
could.
for something else.
Again, that's what I would do. I would
'cause
save
it's
the
beautiful.
cream.
It's Rose and Hubble, isn't it? Really nice
I would,
quality
I would
cotton.
save the cream. I would just use
something else.
something else and just use that for
and
another
keep
project.
that for something. Okay.
But that's so you want to cut them exact
Right.
because that's the key. Because the way that we put them together is I'm always going on about my pop sack, the preparation of your project, and your seam allowance consistency. If you do both of those things with here, because the puffs are raised, you don't really need to match your seams because it's not going to show.
Yeah.
So it's a very quick, easy project, perfect for beginners. So the first thing you do is cut everything out, and then all I've done is I've just cut a little bit ready to puff, to stuff my puff.
Do you do that with scissors or a
I did
seam
these with the rotary cutter.
Oh, of course you could just go through the
Be
middle.
careful if you are doing it with the rotary cutter. You can do quite a few at the same time. But if anyone's talking to you or the phone rings and you go like that, you're going to cut through them. If you want to cut them with scissors, just fold them in half and just snip them, but mind your fingers. Yeah, so that's what you can do there. And then we've got these cut out, and these have just literally been hand scissor cuts. Normally I'm a real, I like my rotary cutter, but you don't need to do that for them. Now, the first thing we're going to do is obviously they don't match, so we need to make them fit.
Yeah, they're a bit big, aren't they now?
They are. Those ones are bigger. And it depends how big you have the front one, what ratio you have as to how high your puff is. Now, it's all in there for you because I've done it for you. But you do see a lot of people make them and they're very low, the puffs, and that's because the ratio between the two fabrics are different. Yeah, so I like a big puff. I like a big one. So I've gone for this ratio. And then all you're going to do, I like a big puff. and then all you're going to do is sorry, Rebecca.
Sorry, got the giggle.
Sorry, Rebecca.
It is nearly Christmas.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I need to make my big piece fit to my little piece. Now, I'm going to lay the top fabric on the bottom one, but I'm going to bring it in very, very slightly. Now, I don't want to bring it in too much because I want to make sure I stitch it. So I'm going to be doing a 1/4 of an inch seam to do them together. So I want to make sure that this is in between the two. So I'm just going to...
Oh, so you don't line it up then?
You don't want to line it up. And that's why it's really important. It doesn't matter if you're a little bit out on these, but it's really important to cut
So how
these.
much, is it like 1/8 of an inch in or something?
Well, again, I'm going to be sewing close to the edge, so probably not even that. You just want to bring it in proud.
A tad.
Yeah. Now, at home, I've actually got, this is how sad I am when I make these. I've got a little piece of card with the bottom size drawn on it, and then I've got a little mark where it shows my middle. But on the instructions, it tells you, and I should do that now, just so that everyone knows what the instructions are, that you mark each side in the middle. So I'm marking these in the middle, and that's purely, again, you don't have to, because some people just like to go freehand and just have it how they do it, but I like to have everything looking as neat as I can. Then all we do is just mark the middle.
Well, it's easier, isn't it?
It is, yes. And then
instead so you just bring it in just a tad?
Yes, just a tad. So I'm just going to just mark them as well.
Yeah, can you even put that more in the middle? Paul's complaining.
Is it? Well, he's normally complaining about my head. So
no, he's complaining about your middle. You know what he's like.
Well, I've had a few mince pies, so, you know, I can understand.
Yes, Paul, that's a bit rude.
That is very rude, Paul, very rude.
Middle, especially when she's got a designer T-shirt.
Yeah, I've got my designer T-shirt on. You leave my middle alone, Paul. And then all we're going to do that on all 4 corners.
Right.
And then you'll see already that I'm getting a baggy piece of material form in the middle. And I really regret not putting a jumper on in the break because I can't feel my fingers at the moment.
I've got cold hands, actually. The rest of me's fine.
Oh, yeah, no, the rest of me's fine. It's just my fingers I cannot
feel. Cold hands, warm heart,
yes.
Yeah, Hannah, could you come and hold my hand, please? Or gloves.
Put them under your armpits.
I've got some really nice, really woolly fingerless gloves that I wear in the car, but they're so thick that my fingers are really apart and they're cold.
Right, so this is where that little mark comes into play now.
Okay.
So what we're going to do is we're going to pull the material up and pinch it together at the bottom. So I'm pinching, I don't know if you can see that.
Can you see that, Paul?
Can we see that, Paul? Am I in the middle on to the left? I can see it.
He said if you put it in the middle, he can... Oh.
Whoa. Oh. He's being a bit punchy today.
Sort of in the middle, slightly. He is actually being serious. I thought he was joking.
I've lost the middle. Do you mean there?
Is that all right there, Paul? Yeah.
Is that all right now?
But there you go.
It wouldn't be if Paul wasn't telling me off at some point. Brilliant. Actually, he meant that cross, didn't he? Thank you, Paul. And then all I've done...
He's ever so bossy.
He is very bossy. He is very bossy.
He spends his whole time going left a bit, right a bit. And then I keep going like, I go one way. And then he goes, oh, can you go the other way?
It's normally Hetty shouting at me.
I have no idea.
And then all I've done is I've pushed the fabric either side. So I've got the fabric going either way into a little box pleat.
Okay, so you don't go one side.
I didn't know they were called knife pleats. The other way. The ones, if you do it to the left or the right, they're called knife pleats. Because what you don't want to do...
And then there's inverted box.
Oh, don't start that.
As well.
Oh, is that?
Yeah.
Does that mean the other way? So the pleat
is
at the bottom?
Well, no, it's where you splay it down like that. So if you pulled it up, rather than it folding over, you swash it down so it pleats either side. Do you see what I mean?
So is that not that one?
Let me see. Yeah, no, that's
what's
not,
that?
no, a knife pleat is where it only goes over
yeah,
to
a
one
knife
side.
pleat goes to one side. So what's that one then? That's not a box then?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, it is.
But I
okay.
can't remember this. There's two sorts of box pleats, an inverted and a...
Oh, okay.
and
I shall look that up. So you'll see on the cushion here, because I've put the pleat either side, and it's the same on those ones.
Then they match up.
They all match up.
Right.
Whereas if you do a knife, if you go to the left once and then the right the other, it's all going to be higgity-piggity.
Yeah, so this is an external one because the pleat's on the outside.
Right.
You know what, on skirts sometimes that box pleat's on the
so
inside.
that's called a...
You know when you see
Yes.
if you did that pleat, but
the other way.
the pleating was underneath. That's the other way.
Ooh, actually, that may even work as well.
I don't know whether but you do it sometimes for skirts where you want the sort of the bulk on the inside and the pleat on the outside.
So
I don't know whether it would work for this.
I think it would be too difficult. I've just got my head around this one. And then we do exactly the same for the other three. And when I'm pinning them, I'm making sure I catch both sides of that.
Yeah. And then they do match up nicely, don't they?
They do. And you will find sometimes they do play up.
I don't think that other pleat would work. I think it needs to be this way.
I think it does.
That's more of a, you know, when you've got one of those big, you remember the school skirt and then the pleats are sewn down.
I wore trousers at school.
Did you?
Yes, I did.
You went to a very progressive school.
Well, we're talking about, a long time ago.
Know, and you wore trousers.
Yeah, I wore trousers. It was only in the last few years because I was a bit of a tomboy. I know you can't imagine that I was a bit of a tomboy. Oh dear.
When my daughter started in sixth form, their dress code was, because they didn't have to wear uniform, but you weren't allowed to be able to see up it, down it, or through it. Up it, down it, or through
it.
Well,
it's obviously all changed nowadays.
But that covers everything, doesn't it?
Yes. No, I was so pleased when they said that girls could eventually wear trousers.
No, we did have those skirts where they're sort of...
Oh, skirts. Did you have a skirt?
No, didn't have one of those.
I had a skirt as well. That I could sit I can sit in assembly without.
That's nice.
Yes. Does Paul know what a skirt is? A skirt.
A skirt. Do you know what a skirt is?
It's like a trousery skirt, isn't it? So that's all I'm doing, and you do that. It's again one of those repetitive things. So once you've learned how to do it once, you just keep doing them. And I would make one, sew one, make one, sew one. Otherwise, you're not going to have enough pins.
Yeah, especially like me. I don't know where all my pins go. They just, I think they dissolve.
I think they do.
Because I used to have a full box, and I haven't anymore.
I'm exactly the same.
I'm absolutely certain that they dissolve. Maybe they're biodegradable. Because I don't know where they are. Because I'm sure I'd have seen them all in the carpet. I know I dropped loads of them.
Oh no, because we have a dog, so I do have to be very, very careful.
Well, yeah, I have, but she has never.
Well, you do, don't you?
Never stood on a pin, strangely.
Well, she's probably got loads in her pads. You just don't know they're there.
Probably just hard now.
Right, I'm just doing the three at the same time so that we can just sew round them. And then the next thing, and you would do each of these, unless you have got like thousands of pins and you want to pin them all. So I would make one, sew one, make one, sew one.
Otherwise you could. Depends whether you're a production line person or a do it all and then move on. I'm a production line person.
I don't like cutting out. I know Delphine was saying, I think she's mad because she actually likes cutting out.
I like the beginning of cutting out for the first 5 minutes. I'm quite excited.
I don't even last 5 minutes.
And then I'm a bit bored.
Yes. So I like the sewing.
Right.
But I would cut all of them out and then go and have a cup of tea and I come back and do the next.
Okay.
But so I make them individually and then I sew them in their rows. So the next thing that we're going to do is get my tin out of the way, is I'm going to sew, and again it's just to turn the two pieces into one piece. I do this all the time. I don't like working with pins, so I get rid of the pins.
Right.
And to do that, I'm just going to do a tacking stitch around the outside.
Okay. And how far from the edge?
So it needs to be within the 1/4 inch seam allowance, but it still needs to catch the fabric.
Okay.
Because that's why you don't want the fabric to be in too far. So I'm going to take my first pin out. And if you put the pins, the 4 centre pins in quite far, you should just be able to sew round. But don't sew round that one. And then all I'm going to do is, and I'm going to increase my stitch to a tacking.
Okay. So what size do you put into tacking?
I'm really lucky. This machine goes up to 5. So I'm
Yeah,
going
so
to do
sometimes
5.
I do it like 5 or 6, but then it's like super runs away with me.
Yeah, so I would set your speed to slow to start off with, because it will go off like a rocket, and then because it's big, it would just shoot. And then we get to the corner, take your pin out.
So this is the machine that you've just bought for yourself. Treated yourself as Wendy.
No, I didn't. No,
Yeah.
it's literally for the next 25 years.
Yeah, but
worth
we
of
worked out that it
presents.
probably costs like a penny a minute, though, doesn't it? When you think how much you
Yes,
do.
that's a good
So
idea.
why do you love? What's so great about this machine?
Well, I don't know if you've noticed, I've not actually touched anything on the machine yet. So I've got to the corner and I just press the button and it does everything for me.
Yeah.
So I just press the foot pedal.
And it did it on its own.
Yeah, which is good to get away from me, to get me away from the machine. But it's just, I don't know. I am a bit like a kid in a sweetie shop at the moment. I've never had this calibre of machine. So, and I'm very humbled because it is just incredible. But it is just so easy. It is just so easy. And so smooth. And it's just, I'm still learning it. I've only had mine 3 days.
Wow.
So, but, you know, I felt confident enough to actually say, this is the machine I'm using.
And it's great.
And it's brilliant. And I didn't read the instructions. I just went on your channel and I looked up Gary Dukey and there he was.
And
so,
he was doing it.
and he showed me how to do it on the screen. So it's brilliant.
It's got a lovely big table.
Is it called the throat?
Throat. It's got a deep throat and a big table. I like that.
So I'm just now sewing one that I'd already sewn. So that's all we do. Yes,
Which
it
makes
has.
quilting so much easier because it's really hard. I know when I've got a nice machine, but it's not as deep as that, and you really have to roll your quilt up.
But it's not until, that's what I find, that you do have to roll it up. It's not until you have something that you think, I didn't realise.
That's really lovely, isn't
yes,
it?
It's absolutely
It just
fantastic.
makes sewing just that bit easier, doesn't it? Smoother.
I love sewing anyway, so really I could
Takes
have
all the stress away.
It does. It does.
And doesn't this one? This one has the walking foot
built in.
built in.
Oh, I haven't even ventured in there yet. I was just so excited that I've got a foot pedal that's got multifunctions on it.
Which is amazing, isn't it?
And that did scare me. When I was watching Gary, I thought, well, he knows what he's doing because he's, had a part in designing it and he works for them and he does know what he's doing. So I possibly won't be able to do what he's done, and literally within 5 minutes. The thing that I do forget is that it has got 2 things on there, and sometimes I'm pressing it.
Can you program the foot to do?
I have
what
programmed
you
it to
want
do what
to do?
I checked to see what, because I know there's another couple of designers that use it as well, and I just checked to see what they'd set it at, but it looked like it resets itself each time, which is great. Yeah, you can get it. The foot can do things like you can start reverse stitching at the front and the end just by pressing the foot. It's just crazy. It's crazy.
Which is so much easier. You know, when you're trying to hold something and move something, you don't want to be pressing buttons as well. So that's just kind of that sort of next level machine, isn't it?
It is.
That makes life a lot simpler.
And I think it's really nice as well because, as I say, Gary does work for them, so he's going to know his way around it. But for someone that I literally had mine 3 days. And
so this machine at the moment, because it's on split pay, you can buy it on the 5 equal payments.
Oh wow, that's good.
So the normal price is the price is 2,795, but because it's over the 799, you can do it in 5 split payments of 559 a month. You don't have to. You can buy it all in once. We don't insist. But if you wanted to split pay it, you can do it on 559 months. And the great thing about that is, we've had a lot of questions, is that that's interest free. So we're not trying to make money out of that.
You don't get that very often.
No,
it's
you don't.
Normally, you can have the privilege of paying it for over 5 months, but we're going to charge you £200, £300, £400.
That's interest free. And also what's good is that you get sent it straight away. So you haven't got to wait for the end of the 5 months to get it. Once you've paid your first instalment, and it comes direct from the supplier as well. I mean, it is the next level. I mean, obviously a beginner could use it. There's no, when they say, oh, it's next level, a beginner, of course they could use it.
Absolutely. And as I say, I thought, because it does, the first thing it says is read the instructions. And it's like, oh, I haven't got time to read the instructions, so I just watch Gary.
And this one as well comes with all the feet, the £160 worth of feet. Extra feet that
and
come with it.
You think, what am I going to use that for? And already I'm actually, I'm using the feet that I should be using, which I don't normally do that.
I know, and people say, oh, it's not, but it is. I mean, in fact, a beginner, it's perfect for a beginner because it's really easy.
And I think with a lot of people, and I know people have said to me that I've bought a machine and it's still in the box. And you admitted, Rebecca, that you had it sitting there and they're frightened of it. this is really great because if you hear me now, it's telling me, oh, you shouldn't be doing that.
Okay.
Because I was trying to make the stitch bigger than it would go. So it would tell you, and it will also say, you know, that you can't do that with what you're trying to do. So it's really, really clever. But Gary is wonderful. He's all his videos, you could just go and watch them, and he explains everything.
And he shows you what to do. That's how I know about the programmable free. But
that's how I found out about the little
and having the
bit.
walking foot in there as well, that makes a massive
That's
difference.
revolutionary for me because the walking foot, and I don't mean to sound, I don't want to put people off things, but because I'm a lefty, sometimes I struggle with the way things are because they've clearly been designed for right-handed people. And I used to struggle changing my walking foot.
Oh, okay.
Because of the way, you know, I'm not so good with my right hand.
I see what you mean. Yeah,
So I needed to do the screwdriver, but with this, I just pull it down and it's gone. It's there. So brilliant.
Oh yeah, show us.
Oh no, I'm not sure. But yes, you've got the walking foot at the back. So, can you see it? So you just
I can't. On quite close
sorry,
now.
Yes, it's here. I can't. You just pull your walking foot down, and it's there.
And it's there.
It's amazing.
Easy. Whereas
isn't it?
mine, I have to unscrew it up, you know. So I think, I can't be bothered. But actually,
And I say, I know that. Sorry. What I was saying is that even for a beginner, I know if someone is thinking that I want to sew. And they just want to sew for a hobby and maybe just get it out once a month, then yes, probably you would want a more level entry machine. But if someone's thinking, actually, I want to sew and I want to be able to sew maybe and sell things, then yes, it's probably going to take you a little bit longer to learn it because there is so much on there. But I wish I'd had a machine like this.
It makes it easier for beginners. So we've got a message from Barbara. Morning, ladies. My Dukey arrived on Saturday. Switched it on yesterday. Still reading the instructions. But it is beautiful. It is. It's a real treat. And why shouldn't you treat yourself? If you've got a hobby, you know, you think of the hours and hours you spend on it. Why shouldn't you treat yourself?
Definitely. So now I've got all my squares.
So you've made all your little puffs and you've sewn them around within the seam allowance. But so you've just
I have just gone within and all I'm doing now, Rebecca, is turning 2 pieces of fabric into one.
Yes.
So I haven't got to worry. You could, if you wanted to, join them together as well. But
so why does the puff fabric come just inside the outer fabric?
I didn't think you were going to ask me that.
Well, no, because I wanted to know. I'm thinking, why does it?
Right. Remember me saying that my pop sack is I'm absolutely, the more preparation and your seam allowance consistency that you can do, it's just going to work. So if you're making something to sell and you've got the next person that's made something to sell the same as yours, but maybe their things aren't on point, if you've done like your seam allowance and your preparation, yours is going to look much better and you're going to be able to sew it quicker.
Okay.
So what we do, if these 2 fabrics at the back are exactly the same, then when you put them together, right sides together, they are going to fit.
Right.
So if you've put this, and if it peeps over at all, they're not going to fit.
Right.
So by keeping it away from that backing fabric, then when I place these together, they are absolutely spot
so
on.
if you did it right up to the edge, it might go over a bit.
Exactly.
Is that when you sew it?
Yes, because especially if you have your 1/4 of an inch your 1/4 of an inch foot that's got that 1/4 of an inch guard. It's going to go round that fabric, so you don't actually want any of the top fabric peeping
at all.
And
so by having it coming in just a little,
just a fraction. It's only got to be a little.
Right.
So now I don't have to worry about. Well, I don't really pin anyway, but I don't have to worry about anything because I can just go straight ahead and do my 1/4 of an inch seam.
Okay.
Which I'm going to do now, and I've got my 1/4
So
of
the
an inch.
rainbow cushion is sold out, so you can't have that one now.
Okay.
I will move that one. I'll take that off.
Take that one off.
So Wendy's got just over 10 minutes left.
Oh wow.
She's doing very well.
And I've done it again. I keep doing this, and that's not the machine. It's me. I noticed that it didn't have the thread, and this is what I'm not very good at threading. I'm getting to the age where I need my glasses to see close, and I still can't see close.
Oh, that's got a nice needle thread on it.
It has. Do you know I actually broke mine on my machine? How can you do that?
No, my needle threader doesn't work anymore.
Oh, okay. It's not just me then. And actually,
not on that one. No, I haven't got one of these. I've got
has it actually?
machine.
Is it still there though?
Yeah, it is. I think I bent it.
But Debbie gave us. I was watching Debbie one day, and there's a little thing in between it that supposed to hook the cotton? And she said, if it's just gone
Yeah,
bent.
no, I did talk to the man in the shop.
Oh, right,
and he said to me, bring it in for a week and we'll do it. And I went, well, I can't be without my machine for a week. So because I cannot be without my machine for a week, I therefore cannot take it in. I think it has a little, like a manual needle thread, I think it has a little bend of wire that goes through the needle. And I
don't think people understand this when you say you can't do without it.
Well, I can't. How can I do without it for a week? So therefore, I can't get it mended. So...
Exactly.
I need to be able to take it in and stay there while he does it and then take it home with me again. Right. So, and that was probably about 6 months ago, and therefore I just thread it by hand now and I've got used to it.
Yes, see, I did thread mine by hand.
But not now.
Not now.
Not now. Life has changed.
Oh, yes.
Life has changed for the better.
Yeah. But you see, I kind of could justify it because that's what I do.
Exactly.
So.
But you can always justify it. It's your hobby.
You can
if
always
afford
justify
to buy it,
things.
then you can definitely justify it.
Absolutely.
Why shouldn't you treat yourself? We spend all our lives working. If it wasn't for treats and holidays. Yeah. Hannah said, "Don't talk about holidays."
No, we're not. No, we mustn't talk about holidays. What are they? What are they?
There's something to look forward to.
They are. They are. I am sure at some point in our lives we will get back to normality.
We will.
We will. And then all I'm doing is sewing them together in rows. Now, it doesn't matter which way your
slits.
I was going to say slits. Which way your slits go, because you're just going to be stuffing it, so it doesn't matter.
So you just sew them together in rows.
Just sew them together in rows.
So if you're making a super king size quilt,
sew them together in rows. I'm definitely going to do that. So watch this space.
It would feel really nice though, wouldn't it?
God. I mean, you couldn't sleep under it. Yeah, you couldn't sleep under it. And how would you wash it actually?
Well, this filling washes, doesn't it? You'd need to do it in the middle of summer so you could hang it on the line.
Well, you wouldn't get it in your machine though, would you?
Oh, there is that.
And all I'm doing now is I'm just sewing the seams open.
Pressing.
That's the one, pressing.
Wendy's pressing the seams open.
Pressing the seams
open. It's almost
open.
the same as sewing.
It's almost the same.
It's a bit different.
Just one has a machine and one has an iron, doesn't it? And I had a lot of sleep
We
loss.
knew what you meant, though. You've got 8 minutes.
Okay.
What, approximately? You've got 8 minutes and 23 seconds.
Oh, lovely. And then once you've sewn all your, you just start sewing the rows together. So that's what we're going to do now. And then I'm just going to put these ones.
They look really deflated.
They are. They are.
Don't they? Well, no, because I've got the real one. Well, the real one. The real one.
Yes, I've only got the pretend one.
Deflated.
Yes.
Like an airbed in the morning. When you wake up on the floor. We had a friend to stay a while ago, obviously. A while ago. And said, he ended up the next morning he was just on the floor. I don't know what happens to airbeds though. You should buy one and then they lose all their air.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't like airbeds. I always find if you turn over, you kind of just end up on the floor anyway because it tips up, doesn't it?
I want one of those super fat airbeds. You know, you can get them like this fat ones.
Right, so just sewing them together. Brilliant. So I've now got my front. Yes, they're all deflated because at this moment in time, you do not want to stuff them because you want to put your back on first.
Right.
Because if you stuff them before, then you're going to struggle
sewing.
Never
sew them together.
Well, you would. I did that the first time and it really wasn't pretty. So all we're going to do now is we're going to put our edges on. So I've pre-cut them and just make sure with the fabric that you do.
Oh, so yes, so it has a border around it.
It does have a border and I do them double. So this is where I was saying if you only want to do them single layer, you can, but I just think it just gives it a little bit more stability.
Okay.
Because you've got quite a lot of weight in the puff itself.
So I suppose it needs the border, doesn't it?
I think so.
Yeah, because if you sewed that just into the backing. It wouldn't sit as well, would it?
No, I think so. But again, everyone can do what they want.
Yeah, you could just sew.
You can,
yeah.
but you would need to make sure that you sew it together before you stuff it.
Yes,
Definitely
got
in that
to
case.
sew the outer. Any seam has got to be sewn before
So
you
the first
stuff.
thing we're going to do, we're going to put piping that's not piping.
Okay.
So it looks like piping, but there's no cord in there. And it says to use white in here. Now I use the white that's on the panel because
yes, of course, because there's edges.
Definitely use that.
Yeah, there's edges.
Or you could use the cream, or you could use your own colour.
Yeah,
and then
I mean, there's certainly enough edge.
Definitely.
On the panel.
And then all I'm going to do.
And that's just detail, though.
That's just detail. You don't have to have it in
but
there
that's
if you
a nice
don't want
little
to.
finish.
And what I'm going to do, actually, Rebecca, on this one here, is I've done. If you can see here, I've got it going.
Can you see there, Paul?
So there, I've got it. I sewed the two sides, and then put the border on and then added that after. Okay. But I'm just going to do it different this time, just to show you how you can do it like that. So I'm going to put this on here, and again, all I'm doing is just sewing within the 1/4 inch seam allowance, because remember, I want to make it look like it's one piece of material. It's much easier to work with.
So tacking it on,
Just tacking it on, yeah. So I'm just tacking it down this edge. I'm going within the 1/4 inch seam allowance, and I've put my stitch length up to the maximum, which, well, I've just put it up to 4.4, so between 4 and 5 will be fine. I mean, you can do it small if you want, it's just you don't want to waste cotton. So that's that side, and then we do the opposite side.
You're doing it super fast.
I'm doing it super fast.
So that we can get round to the stuffing.
Yeah. Super fast. I've turned him up to hare and not tortoise.
Well, I'm looking forward to Christmas dinner, are you?
Oh. We actually have a ban in our house. The whole of December, we are not allowed to have a roast dinner.
Okay.
Because we have roast dinner every Sunday. But for December month, we're not allowed to, because then it kind of takes it away on Christmas Day.
So it's all curries in December.
And then this time, instead of putting the border on, I'm going to cut these off, and always make sure you cut away from you. So if you have to turn your project around, do so. Don't ever cut towards you, because it's dangerous. And then I'm going to put this one on, and you can do this instead of doing it how I've done it before, because before I would put the borders on and then add this second.
So but with this way, then that piping.
The piping's just on the inside.
Will only go around the inside, the uncovered piping.
Yes.
Well, it's not. It's covered piping without the piping.
Yeah, it's pretend piping. It's piping with no pipe.
Trim.
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 I probably would have been the better thing to call it, wouldn't it? Yes, definitely.
So you've only got 2 minutes left now.
2 minutes, right. And then do that side. See, I haven't touched the machine once.
No, it's just all doing it for you.
It's just all doing it for me, yeah. So I feel a bit of a fraud now. Because the machine.
Yeah, you do have to keep it straight, though. It's like a car, isn't it?
Well, I'm not even.
You are sort of driving it.
I'm not even doing that, but I am only going within the 1/4 inch seam allowance.
Yeah, it does make it easier if you're new to sewing, doesn't it?
It does, yes. And then I'm just going to cut those off. So now it's like it's just the panel, because I've got my.
So how do we stuff?
How do you stuff?
How do we stuff?
Right. Well, the first thing you need to do is get yourself a pair of kitchen scales.
Yes, clearly, and weigh.
And weigh them. And then you just take, and this stuffing is brilliant. This is always my go-to.
Okay.
Because normally when you get stuffing, you have to break it down.
Yeah.
And this you don't, because, well, you can if you want to.
But it's
already really fluffy.
Nice.
And then all you do is, once you've made the cushion, is you just weigh it out to
10 grams. I know, I'm with you on that. I think that's important. And if you haven't got scales, then you'll just have to.
No, you can. It's fine.
You can do, but just try and make it the same.
You don't want to overstuff them.
Right.
But you do want a nice firm puff, because there's nothing worse than having a floppy puff.
Than a squidgy puff.
Yeah. No, they wouldn't even be squidgy, just be floppy,
flat.
wouldn't it? Yeah, flat puff.
Flat
That's
puff.
it. That. And then we just pop it in. Keep just putting it in. So I'm actually going to probably put a tiny bit more in there. Tiny bit more. but you don't want it bulging out the back.
So what does it, okay. Oh, they keep telling me how long you've got. Can you move that thing? There we go. I can see. Oh, right. Okay, lovely.
So we've got, and you could,
Yeah.
I mean, if you wanted to and get another bag of stuffing, you could really overstuff them.
Yeah,
but
no,
you
that's
don't,
nice.
You don't want
And
it
do
to be
you sew
too
the
proud.
back?
And then, yes, what you can do, you can either make the cushion completely and then put a piece of lining fabric once you've stuffed them, but you'd have to make the cushion first.
Yeah.
Or what I just do is I just over sew them.
Just by hand.
Just by, because I love hand sewing.
Just to
as
stop
it is.
them falling out.
Just to stop it all, yeah, your puffs. You don't want
And
your puffs
that's
to
it.
fall out. And that's, yes.
Well, that's brilliant.
That's it.
That is brilliant. And that's what it makes when you've stuffed all of them. It's a thing of beauty. It is. It's lovely. Right, we'll have a quick recap of the bundles. So, there is in the bundle for the one that we just showed you for the autumnal one, you get the instructions. I've lost my glasses on my head. You get the you get the instructions, and then you get the panel. And on the panel are 40 coordinating fabric squares that are 5 inches square, which is exactly what you need. But there is enough. If you use some of the plain fabric, there's enough to make 2, because you're only 25 for the cushion. So you obviously for 2 you had 50. So if you use some of the plain fabric or a bit from your own stash, you've got enough for the 2. So in this one you've got plum, mustard, olive and navy, but in various spots, prints, checks, scrolls, but they've all been designed so all the colours come from the same coordinating palette. Some of them, what's lovely about them is you could really pick and choose, because you only need 25 for one cushion. You could go with the pale ones. You could go for all of one print, because if you look, you've got that print in navy is the same print as that in the olive, and the same print as that. So you could go for just the light ones, just the dark ones are the same print. There's, you know, a real mix and match choice. So you could make 2 cushions that are really quite different, or you can just go random. But that's, you know, make the cushion your own, so that you get the full panel, which is great because it's the most economical way to buy the fabric for this. And you get 1/2 metre of the navy, which is used for the borders, and no, 1 metre of the navy, which is used for the borders and the backing, and then you get 1/2 metre of the ivory. Okay. And we've got a suggestion from Teddy, coming across the bottom. How about calling it cordless piping? Could do. Cordless piping. Yeah. Rather than trim.
I didn't think of that one.
Cordless piping. We like that. That's lovely. Thank you. We'll be calling it that from now on. Twill be known. I think we'll just call it Wendy piping. I think Wendy invented it. We'll call it Wendy piping. The other colourway that we've got is the, it's actually got a name. It's not just pink and grey. It's called, we call it grey and pink. It's not pinky grey, it's grey and pink, but it's actually called Ditsy Bitsy on here. Ditsy Bitsy. So it's that lovely blend of charcoal grey and dusky pink with a bit of check and a bit of colour as well. Very bedroom. I think that's really, really pretty. You don't have to go in the bedroom. I mean, actually, a lot of people have their living rooms painted in grey and pink. In fact, Hayley was telling me the other day that she was going to get a new sofa. Should she get her sofa in pink? I went, absolutely. Why not? Why not have a pink sofa? And Hannah's just bought an orange sofa, so why not have a pink sofa? I'm going pink. So it could be lounge, living room, could be bedroom, but that's lovely. And in that bundle, you get 1 metre of the grey for the backing the border, and then 1/2 metre of the cream. Gosh, we're nearly finished. We've nearly finished. Where did that hour go? They're not telling me the time anymore. So coming up in a few minutes, we've got Workroom Tools, which are actually the ones that I like the best, and they're actually mine, and we should call it Hannah and mine favourite tool show, because it's some of the ones I like and some of the ones that Hannah likes. So that's going to be great, but really lovely things that will make your sewing life easier. So thank you very Wendy for your final appearance on Sewing Street for today, because she's on Yarn Lane, which is different. But Wendy will be back with us at 12 o'clock for Yarn Lane, when we've got the most beautiful, beautiful baby blankets. You're going to love them. So we'll see you in a couple of minutes.
Christmas is going to be a little bit different this year, but Sewing Street will be here to keep you company from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. on Christmas Day. Help me, John Scott, spread some festive cheer by sending in your Christmas messages for us to play on air on Christmas Day. Whether it's a message to your fellow Sewing Street fans or to a loved one, a video message or text, we want to hear from you. Send your videos, photos and messages to studio@sewingstreet.com by Tuesday the 22nd of December to be included and be a part of Sewing Street's Christmas Day celebrations.
If you'd like to get in touch with us during our live show and send in any messages or any questions, then you can do it on studio@sewingstreet.com. Alternatively, you can message us on our official Facebook page.
Hi, I'm Debbie Shaw, and as a professional sewer, I really know how important it is to use a high quality thread. Well, you think about it. You spend a lot of money on your sewing machine, you'll spend a lot of money on fabric, and you'll spend a lot of time sewing. So why let your thread let you down? I know a lot of our designers and customers prefer to use Aurifil thread. Now, this is a family business. It was established in 1983 and they're based just outside Milan in Italy. They produce superior quality threads for domestic and professional sewers alike, and they've achieved worldwide success with quilters, sewers, embroiderers and textile artists who all appreciate the versatility and the strength of these threads. It's all made from Egyptian cotton, which is grown just at the side of the River Nile, and Aurifil only use the long staple threads, which gives their thread that strength. Each one of these threads goes through 15 steps before it even gets onto a spool and then comes to you to use in your sewing projects. Now at Sewing Street, we've collaborated with Aurifil and we've brought you two collections of threads. So we have the Quilters collection, and these are exclusive to Sewing Street. We've done a lot of research with quilters, and these are the colours that you prefer to use. So we put a whole collection together for you. The second collection is the Essential collection. So this is for the homemakers, for the bag makers, for the craft sewers, for the dressmakers. And again, these have been proven to be the most popular colours that you're going to use. So if you want your projects to last longer and your seams to be stronger, invest in some quality thread.
Have you heard about Yarn Lane, a TV show dedicated to knitting, crochet and all things yarn, bringing you demonstrations from our expert guests as well as the latest tools. And find out what's coming up on the show by following us on Facebook and Instagram. Subscribe to our email newsletter or visit the programme guide on our website at www.yarnlane.com.
Christmas is going to be a little bit different this year, but Sewing Street will be here to keep you company from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. on Christmas Day. Help me, John Scott, spread some festive cheer by sending in your Christmas messages for us to play on air on Christmas Day. Whether it's a message to your fellow Sewing Street fans or to a loved one, a video message or text, we want to hear from you. Send your videos, photos and messages to studio@sewingstreet.com by Tuesday the 22nd of December to be included and be a part of Sewing Street's Christmas Day celebrations.
And welcome back to Sewing Street. We've got a lovely hour for you here. Workroom Tools. Now, some of them are chosen by me and some of them are chosen by Hannah. So that's quite nice, isn't it? This is all things that we like. And this isn't a tool, but I had this on air on Saturday, and I love Tim Holtz. If you're watching Saturday, you'll know that. Love Tim Holtz fabric, and oh, they were so popular. So I asked them. I said, I might have to put my glasses on just to undo the knot. I did say, could we bring these back on Monday for anybody who wasn't watching on Saturday? Because there are just a handful remaining, not very many at all, because we almost sold out. But these are beautiful. So if you've never come across Tim Holtz fabric before, it's really lovely. Tim Holtz is an American designer. He designs a lot of paper for scrapbooking and papercraft, but he also uses his designs on fabric as well. And they're very unusual. There's nothing else like these. He almost creates collages. So like if I show you this one, in this bundle there are 20 fat quarters from this eclectic range. So when you look at this, you've got a mixture of, there's a timetable, a time return and delay report, there's some maps, everything is moved around, there's some stamps. This is brilliant to use as a whole fabric piece in itself because there's so much interest and the colours are really muted and vintage, but they are fantastic for fussy cutting. So if you're using for things like EPP or applique, there are lots of different pieces that you can use. I'm going to just pick out a few of my favourites because there are so many here, and otherwise I'll fold them all up, which I had to do on Saturday. So look at this one here. That features loads of francs and stamps. So if you were doing some applique and you just wanted the stamps, they'd be perfect for cutting out for that. You could bond-a-web them on and then you could use them for embroidery. If you made something like maybe a small makeup purse with this or a wash bag, some of the fabrics that do have that sort of unisex or masculine feel to them. So if you made a wash bag from this, you could embroider just around the circles or just over the numbers, and it gives them that sort of 3D relief. There are some fabrics in here that are quite floral as well. I love this one because it's text. I really love text. And this is great, this one. I really like text. I used this fabric once to make pockets on I've got a denim pinafore, and I made pockets on the front with text. I also used a newspaper print fabric for covering a lampshade. It looks really lovely in an office or a study. Really nice. If you've I bought my mum actually some books once for Christmas, and I made her a bag from fabric using text, and it just went really well together. But this one is from a dictionary. Amusement, noun, amusement, entertainment, diversion. And it tells you what all the different meanings are. But it's very, very multi-purpose. It's lovely to use as a sort of a little unusual lining. But then you've got other fabrics in here. This one's really quite feminine. This is like fashion plates. It's got a bit of floral on it. But that would be lovely. Oh. Look at that. It'd be lovely to cover a notebook or make something for your workroom. You know, part of a sewing machine cover or a small bag, a drawstring bag that you're going to keep your tools in, because it's got sort of fashion prints, but then here and there they're like a little bit of ticking, and you've got 2 and 6. So he collects all of these old sort of receipts and maps. There's a lovely one that's all I love this map one. So, you know, they are brilliant. Can you imagine, you know, because there's 24, if you used one of the quilt patterns that you can get that use fat quarters, what a beautiful quilt this would make with so much interest. But they're really useful. I have got a whole stash of these, and I keep them and I use them very sparingly for projects I love. So something like this for making lining, something like for a bag, or using for small things. I mean, that's a beautiful map. It looks from the first glance like a map, but then when you look at it, it's obviously lots of maps that have been taken apart and then all put back together. So there's so much interest in it. But if you just wanted a small piece, you could just cut out the piece that says Pacific Ocean. There's a lovely one that's all about chrysanthemums in a nursery. Like a plant nursery, yes. Like a plant nursery that was all about chrysanthemums. And this one here has all got sort of receipts on it. There's lots of... But they're just lovely. I mean, it really is. If you've not seen Tim Holtz before, then this will just blow you away because it's so unusual, it's so different, and there's so much work and effort that's gone into these. How everything, this isn't just randomly scattered, this has been really thought about, how it's got all the different elements and the different stamps. But they are brilliant for fussy cutting, because you can cut out like the small receipts, like this label here. If you cut round that, it's just adds just that little bit of interest. I make a lot of things from old jeans, denim, and you can I cut out the label from the jeans and sewed that on, because they look really lovely on things. So if you were making a small bag or something, to just sew one of the little labels on it just adds that little bit of extra interest. So I know on Saturday when we did them, people absolutely loved these. So if you're a Tim Holtz lover like I am, now this bundle, this fat quarter bundle, is extremely hard to find as well. In the UK, it's not the easiest to find. So if you're interested in Tim Holtz, then there are 20 fat quarters in it. And there's so 10 metres of fabric in total. No, 5 metres of fabric in total. I was thinking, I'm just copying what Hannah says. There's 5 metres of fabric. But just, there's this one. In fact, we asked the viewers on Saturday, because I read out, this is obviously a map. And it doesn't say where the map is. So I read out all the names of all the different places and the parks and everything. And then somebody wrote in, it's Tennessee. Well, this is the map of. Because I read out the Loreno Park, the Elliott Park, the City Hospital, and all the different things. And that is where this is. So there's such a difference. And then you've got ones here like this one, really floral. But they all go together. Can you imagine making a quilt with this? This is really a piece of art, isn't it? So this one features all these beautiful vintage roses overlaid with text and numbers and receipts and francs. But you could just cut the roses out. Can you imagine embroidering over that? There's so many lovely little flashes of colour. You could just embroider the stems. And, you know, if you love this effect, but you don't really have, like me, I love this effect, but I lack the skill to be able to create this myself. If I did it, I'm not very good at less is more, so mine would look awful. So I think that's why this really appeals to me, because I love the effect that the fabric creates, but I just know, you know, with all that, the mosaic effect. There's one in here that's like a crackle glaze. I can't find it. Look at this one. I'm getting sidetracked now. This one's music. I have absolutely no idea what it plays, but I feel like it's a score or conductor score or something, because all of the notes have got all numbers on top of them. So there must be something to do with orchestras in it. But that's lovely, isn't it? So if you knew someone who loved music, you know, if you want to make gifts for people, these are ideal. You've got such a lot of different elements. You could make a bow tie with it, or a book cover, or create something lovely with it. There's enough in here if you wanted to just line something. You know, when you want to line a pocket and you want to put something beautiful in it. These are so unusual, but like a small lampshade. My text lampshade looks amazing in newspaper print, if I do say so myself. But that's because it's the fabric, not the lampshade, that makes it look lovely. But it is really lovely. People say, oh, Tim Holtz, it's very masculine, but it isn't all. I think maybe it's more unisex, because look at this one here. This is very pretty and floral. But, you know, it's not just floral fabric. Oh, no. It's floral fabric with lots of text as well. So if you love Tim Holtz and you missed it at the weekend, I did say, I know this hour's called Workroom Tools, but could I bring it back if you don't mind? Because Hannah didn't get to see it and she wouldn't have known. And, you know, not everybody watches every day. I mean, I know that's surprising, but we don't get him in every day, and it's a shame if you missed it. So, Hannah, while I'm folding these up, what shall we go on to next? She's going to have a little think now. Right, so now I love these Aurifil threads. So if you were watching earlier when I did Aurifil threads, you know how much I love them and how I was a bit sceptical when I first used them and thought, what's all this Aurifil business? Are they really worth it? Well, I can tell you, yes, they are. I love them. These are really good. So if you've not used Aurifil before and you wonder what it's all about and what are they really good, what's the point of them? Aurifil thread is fantastic. It's Egyptian quality, so it's a very long staple cottons, which means it's very strong. But they're made in Italy, so they are really, really. This is what you speak to any quilter, who, anyone who does a lot of quilting. Oh, how on earth do you get these out? I'm not very good with boxes, actually. Clearly, right. Got them out. It looks quite simple, doesn't it? Why is it not simple? They should have instructions on these boxes of how you open them. Oh, there we go. So also you get a lot of thread for your money. You get a lot on each reel. So this is 50 weight thread. 50 weight thread is your normal thread that you use for piecing, anything, dressmaking, sewing together, patchwork quilting. That's your sort of middle of the road thread. So very all purpose. You can use it in your bobbin and the top. So in this collection, the Necessities House collection, you've got black, white, cream and pale grey. You get 1,300 metres on each spool. Now, this is one of our most popular threads. We always restock it. It is a beautiful thread. It doesn't bobble in the needle. It sits sort of in the fabric rather than on top of it. So it's really lovely. It doesn't interfere with the fabric as much. It's much easier when you're sewing seams with it. It's easier to press because it sits within it. It almost becomes part of the fabric. It's just a really, really good quality thread, and anyone who does a lot of sewing and quilting loves it. And it's really nice because you've got all the colourways here. So you've got the black for any of the darker ones, white and cream, and the grey. This is perfect. This is the thread that I use if I'm going to do any multicoloured sewing. So if I'm using rainbow, and if there's a colour, I think, well, I don't know what colour to use. Grey sort of goes with everything, but it's beautiful. That is a lot of thread. That will last you a long time. When you've got a reel of thread and you're making a quilt, and maybe you've got 100, 150 metres, you're like, I constantly think, I can't believe I've just got through the whole of that. Probably 2 bobbin winds and you're gone. But with this, 1,300 metres, you've got absolutely loads. So if you've not used Aurifil before and you just really want to have a go and see what it's like, this is the perfect starting point. If you have used Aurifil before, then this is really good to increase what you already have. And you've got all the colours. And they come in this really nice little box. So if you wanted to buy somebody Aurifil thread as a present, perfect. This comes in a very easy to wrap box. Start new year with all the colours you need, because we all know there is nothing worse than running out of thread. And the shop might not be open, you won't be able to get it, and it's really, really irritating when you run out of thread. What should we do next then, Hannah? Right, this one. Oh, flipping heck. My arms aren't long enough. These tables are too deep. Right. We showed these earlier, but just in case you missed earlier, this is a beautiful collection of thread. I love these because these feature all the Tula colours. Tula does have a palette, and it's like the Tula rainbow. So it is all beautiful, beautiful, bright colours. But the green and the pink and the red and the orange uses a very specific shade. But they're just lovely, and they're very, if you like bright colours, this is lovely. What I love about this is it's a variegated thread. Now, I did open one up earlier. I'm hoping it's still in amongst here. There we go, because I did undo. So this one here, this variegated thread, that one there, this is a brand new pack today. So look, there's the thread, and when I unravelled it, you can see how it changes colour. Hang on a minute, I'm going to lay it down. So you can see how it changes colour as you go along. Goes from white to blue to pink. So you imagine top stitching with this thread and the colour variant that you would get. I mean, that's beautiful, isn't it? And there's various other variegated in here as well. You've got the green and more of a limey green, a green and white, pink, red, orange. You've got just a plain grey, which is really useful for your general piecing. But the two variegated greys here are really useful for multicolour stuff, or particularly EPP, where you're sewing pieces together of the various different colours. So you don't want a solid one colour. Having a variegated grey is wonderful. Variegated grey is not easy to find because quite often variegated are done in colours, but this is extremely useful where you don't want a solid colour, particularly when you're sewing together lots of colours, or if you just want a more subtle effect. Maybe you're top stitching around the edge of a zip and you want to see the top stitching, but you want it a little bit more interesting or not to stand out too much. These two threads are ideal. So if you love Aurifil and you love Tula, this is for you. And remember, there's 1,300 metres per reel, and you've got 12 of them. So, talking about great brands, because here at Sewing Street, we pride ourselves on the great brands that we bring you. Because we know, we speak to quilters, we speak to sewers. A lot of us who work with Sewing Street, like me, do a lot of sewing. So we know what people want and what the brands are and what they like. And we know you're not stupid. We know that if we give you rubbish, you'll know it's rubbish. So it's, we just bring you the good stuff. I love creative grids. Now they are a bit pricier than the more economy brands, but they are lovely. They are beautiful to work with. So the whole point of rotary cutting when you're using a ruler is that, well, you want the ruler to be nice and straight so you can cut straight lines, but you also want it to stay still so you A, cut accurately, B, you don't cut your fingers. And what's great about creative grids, if I turn them over, they have this slightly textured finish all the way around, and all that, it doesn't stick, doesn't damage your fabric, doesn't mark it, but it just holds still on the fabric because it's slightly textured. It's like putting sandpaper on. Obviously it's not as rough as sandpaper, but it's that sort of effect. But it's all the way around the edge so that you know it will stay safe, whereas quite a lot of other rulers will have it maybe just down the sides. But not only that, it's got dots of it all over. So maybe you're using this to cut an angle and you're lining that up with your fabric and you're cutting this line. All of this is area stay, so it's much more secure. It's got lots of, the markings on it are very good. It's really clear, easy to see. So you've got all of the angles, and across the diagonals, it's got all the markings on there as well. So these two are my favourite rulers. The big one I like to use because it will cut, if you fold your fabric, a full width of fabric in half, then you can cut across it so you can cut your full width of fabric. So it's really useful if you're making something where you've got to cut strips. So this is the one that's in at the moment, £31.99. This is the big one that I'm showing you here, which is, is 24 inches. So this is the one, if it depends what sort of quilting you do. For me, I use this a lot because I don't do quilting. I do lots of home sewing and dressmaking. So if I wanted to cut bias strips and I want to cut them along the length of the fabric, you fold the fabric in half and this in half, selvage to selvage, and then you can just cut along the length of it, and then you can cut exactly to the width you want. So this is really, really good for cutting. Maybe you need to cut, I don't know, 25 4-inch squares, so you cut strips of fabric 4 inches wide and then you turn it around and you cut them. And so I like to have a ruler that I can cut the full width of the fabric. But if I'm then doing smaller piecing, so maybe I'm doing half square triangles and I need to trim them to shape, the smaller one is much better, because if you're using a big one and you're turning it round, you don't want to turn it around too much. This is great for those little things. It's got the angle. So if I'm maybe joining two strips of fabric together because I'm binding and I want to join them at an angle, you join them at right angles so that you can join them diagonally and then you lose the bulk. You've got the lovely 45-degree angle here, and it's just so much easier for drawing and cutting and marking. So if you only had two rulers, these would be the two. Okay? So this ruler, the little one, there it is, it's £14.99. And obviously it's got all the little sticky, well, they're not sticky, they're just slightly textured, non-slip. I don't know what they do, but they've just got a slight texture for them. They won't mark anything, but you will find it does make a difference. if you want to know more about, I mean, Creative Grids do loads and loads of different rulers. I mean, these are sort of very multi-purpose. They do loads and loads of specialists as well. Loads of stuff on YouTube about it. If you want to know more about how they work and what you do, the QR code on here, you can scan in, which will take you straight through to seeing how they work and what you do with them. So, shall we do the cutting mat next? Because this is great. In fact, we've had a bit of a day. I've been talking quite a bit about foundation piecing today. This needs to stick in there. I'll do that in a minute. It was clipped in, and then I moved it, and it unclipped. But we'll clip it in a minute. But these are great for foundation paper piecing because, or if you need to cut anything at an angle, I use my rotating one for half square triangles, because when you've sewn together a half square triangle, particularly if you've done it in 4s or 8s, you need to cut one way and then you need to cut the other way. And if you don't want to move your fabric when you're cutting it because it's in one place, you just rotate it like that, and then you can cut it the other way. So you put your fabric on there. Here's a piece of fabric. Here's a ruler. So you can cut it one way, and then it's lovely, isn't it? So you cut it one way, and then if you wanted to cut it the other way, but you don't want to move the fabric, you just turn that. And that's brilliant. So also for using, for foundation paper piecing, it is perfect because then you can cut multi-directional. So it's one of those things that until you've got, you don't realise how amazing it is. And this is just about the right size because the rotating cutting mats you're going to be using for smaller things. So brilliant for small piecing or trimming. I mean, a lot of the time when you do things like flying geese and half square triangles, you trim it down afterwards, and that's what it's perfect for. But also it's smaller, it's a little bit more portable. So if I want to, maybe I'm sewing in a different room, I'm not sewing in the normal room, or you want to carry things around, or you don't have a lot of space, a little cutting mat like this is ideal, and rotating makes it even better. And to finish off the cutting is obviously you need a rotary cutter. I like the Millwood one. This is a really good quality one. It's 45 mils. So rotary cutters come in 3 sizes, 28, 45 and 60. The 28 is for smaller things. The 60 is better for cutting big things. The 45 is kind of your middle of the road, will do everything. So if you haven't got a rotary cutter, the 45 mil is the one. It's really good quality. It has a safety switch so you can have it on and off. So that's always and after you've used a rotary cutter for a while, you'll get used to the fact that you slide the blade on and off all the time. Shows you how to change the blade, but it's just really good. It's an entry level. It's the most affordable rotary cutter that we do, and Millwood is a brand that we all know. It's reliable. It's got long heritage. It's quality. I said to you, we don't sell poor quality things because we have so many different guests and demonstrators in all the time that if we did, they'd go, oh, they're quite honest as well. That's rubbish, you can't have that. So we only, obviously we do different qualities, but the Millwood, we all know and trust Millwood. They've been going for years. So that's the whole rotary. If you haven't done any rotary cutting before and you keep seeing it and think, oh, I don't know where to start, this is a really good place to start. Those are the 2 rulers I'd recommend, a rotating cutting mat and a bigger one, which we will have on the website, and that is a cutting mat. So which one do you want me to do next? Oh yes, this magnetic. This is brand new today. Oh, who doesn't love a gadget? Who doesn't love a gadget? The only problem is, I do have problems with boxes, you know. I can't actually get it out. I wonder how it comes out. Maybe you have to... I can't open the box. How hard can it be? Okay. Right, show us the photo on the web. Right, so that's the photo on the website. Yeah, it's the weirdest thing. No, I actually just cannot open. Oh, it's all right. It's all right. Panic over. I had to break the seal. Right, here we go. This looks like I've just bought myself a new watch, doesn't it? This is not for a set size wrist. Oh, it's one of those slap ones. Oh, look at that. I'm going to take the pins out before I do that. It's a slap one. I'm rolling up my sleeves. Ready? Look at that. Hours of fun, and just chuck your pins in. It's magnetic. So you're on the machine. You can put it on the right or the left hand, obviously, and you just want to put your pins down. You can't be bothered to put them in the cushion, so you just chuck them in. Look at that. And they just stick in the magnetic thing. I love that. That's great. It fits any size wrist unless you're a giant. Oh, they come in yellow and red and blue, and you will just get whichever. And in a lovely little gift box as well, which does open quite easily. You just have to break the seal. And then it just slaps very easily. I don't know whether if you slap it on with all the pins fall on your wrist, fits any size. But it's just really useful, isn't it? So you've always got the pins to hand. It's got quite a nice deep cup on it. And if you spill your pins, you can use the magnet to pick them all up. No. So if you spill your pins, spill your pins all over the floor, you can just go scoop them all up. What a fantastic gadget. Look, I've got a whole I wonder how it copes with this, because I think this is magnetic. Oh no, that's unfortunately, that's now picked them all up. Well, this is quite funny because this is magnetic and that's magnetic. I was wondering how they all work. Yeah, to my own side. Then it's really useful though. I like the fact that it's got a nice big deep cup. I'm not very good at taking pins out. I quite often put them in my mouth, which we all know you're not supposed to do. So instead of putting them all in your mouth, you can put them all in your special pin cushion. It does. It's nice, really comfy. It's that really sort of soft, silk-like finished plastic, whatever that's called. You know, that really squishy. It's not the sort of solid plastic. It's sort of soft plastic. I don't know what that is. I like that. What a love. And it comes with some pins. Just a few, but it does come. Magnetic slap band pin cushion. There you go. Does what it says on the tin. Oh, right, these are new as well, and I saw these this morning. I went, oh, I want one of these. Look, these. Oh, look at that. So these are from the Cross Stitch Guild. I mean, these look at that. They actually, if you put your pins on it, we have had lots of them, but these are the only ones they have stock. But these are super magnetic. Look, ready? You could drop them and it catches them. Should we do that again? It's beautiful. It looks like wood. I think it might be a resin, but it looks like wood. And this one is an acorn, handcrafted in the Cotswold. It's got a slight flat bottom. Can you see it's flat bottom, which means it will sit flat, so although it's an acorn, on the desk. Made from resin, but they're beautiful. But look, they're so magnetic. You can tell when I drop the pins. Look, it really catches them. This would be brilliant for picking up pins though, wouldn't it? That's lovely. That's really nice, isn't it? And then if you needed to pick up pins... Oh, look, you need it, so it has to be that way. That's interesting. Look, you can't... The magnet's in the top. It's just one of those beautiful things. It's a really beautiful thing. It's just a really beautiful thing. But it's really clever as well. It works. I've also got another one. Look at this. It's a whale. Oh, is he not gorgeous? Shall I do a little 360 for you? Look, there he is. Look at me. Look at the detail on him. I bet you can't see, but he's got patterns all over him. He's got a blowhole and eyes and his little tail, and then he's got sort of engraved patterns all over him as well. And he is a pincushion too. Well, not pincushion, a magnetic pin holder. Look at that, so you can just drop them and it catches them. That's really... I'm trying to put the put it in the pin. It doesn't like that. If you try and put the pin in its blowhole, it jumps off. I wanted to see if it would go in, but it just comes off. That's lovely, isn't it? I really like that. And if you turn it over, it's got a flat bottom. Yes, please. Look, can you see its flat bottom? It's a flat bottom whale. Can you see the detail on it? That's lovely, isn't it? It is. I mean, for £9.99, this is a beautiful gift for somebody or for yourself, because you wouldn't know it was for pins, would you? It doesn't look magnetic. I would just put it. You just put it beside your sewing machine. You have it on your sewing table. Easy to chuck your pins onto when you're finished. Or, you know, you could have it anywhere. But I am constantly dropping pins, which is why I was saying to Wendy earlier, I'm sure my pins actually dissolve. Be brilliant. You could just squidge it all across the carpet. Oh, I've just dropped one. One moment. I'm just going to use the whale. It's all right. I've got it back. Love that. But they belong in here. So both of these are £9.99, whether you want the whale or the acorn. They're lovely. Should we talk about best press? Because I like best press. So Wendy was talking about it earlier. So best press is a starch. It's not starch, it's an alternative to that. So it's really good for when you're doing any piecing, particularly if you're cutting things on the bias. You'll find that you have to be very careful if you're cutting on the bias when you're then piecing back together. So that's when you're cutting things in triangles, really. There's so much more stretch on the bias of the fabric, which is the diagonal 45-degree grain. But if you spray with best press first, it just gives the fabric a little bit more stability for when you sew. It doesn't make any difference at all to the sewing of it. So it does starch and its size, and you can use it on any fabrics. It does make ironing easier as well. And you know when you've got fabric that's, say, like if I show you like this Tim Holtz one, where when you've got them all folded up into fat quarters, and sometimes these creases are really difficult to get out, but you don't want to wash it, then the best press is brilliant. So it's brilliant for cutting and piecing and sewing if you've got a fabric that isn't massively stable. But it's better not to use a starch on a fabric. You can, but it's just a bit more cloggy. And it can flake as well. And also, this doesn't smell at all. And it's also earth and people friendly. I like that. It's good for the environment. But it makes ironing and pressing so much easier. But you just give the fabrics a quick press. So, I mean, it's ideal. You can use it on any type of fabric. Obviously, we're going to be using it for sort of sewing and quilting. So it's perfect for quilting weight cotton. It's ideal for that. And just lovely for... Makes quite a difference. Spray on the fabric. It's one of those things, to be honest, that until you've used it, you don't realise how great it is. And then the people who use it, see, look, it's got a really nice fine spray on it. And it doesn't smell of anything. So, you know, sometimes you don't want that starch spray. So you just give it quite a light spritz and then press it. And it will just make the cutting and the piecing. So if you're doing a lot of very fine, lots of very small pieces, this is ideal. Right, this is the quilt basting spray. So this is equivalent to the 505, but it's called the quilt basting. It's brilliant. So if you are layering up, you've done your quilt top, you've got your wadding, you've got your backing fabric, and you don't want to be tacking it all together, or particularly when you're doing quite a big one. If you're like quilting a double bed quilt and you've got to put the 3 layers together, fold it over, and then put the next thing, it's quite hard to do all the tacking. With this, you spray the wadding on both sides, and then it will actually stick to the fabric. It's removable though, it's not like stick forever. You can pull the fabric back on and off. It just makes that whole tedious, boring process of layering a quilt so much easier. Because I know, like Wendy was just saying that, who was it? Was it Delphine said she liked cutting out and Wendy didn't like cutting out. So we all like different things. I don't think anyone likes basting, because you've done all the interesting bit of piecing it and you want to get onto the quilting and that layering it all together. This just makes it quicker and easier. Do remember when you use it though, that it will make things sticky around it. So if you're doing it on the carpet, on a table, just protect the surfaces, because it does make everything slightly sticky around. But it's just a really, really quick and simple way. It's also, I mean, I know it's great for big quilts, but if maybe you're just making a small bag or a cushion and you want to quilt it, it's just quicker, isn't it? You just spray the wadding, you stick it to the fabric on the top and the backing fabric, and it just makes it a lot quicker. So when you think, oh, I can't be bothered to do all that tacking, this is a wonderful thing. It tells you how to do it. You shake it first, smooth the quilt top over the sprayed batting, beginning the centre, working to the edges. When you wash it, then it stops it being sticky. But what is really good is that when you peel it off, if you find it's not as sticky as it was because you need to reposition, because sometimes you've put it on all the backing fabrics in the wrong place, if you give it a quick press, it makes it sticky again. So it's a brilliant product for, unless you know anyone who loves basting quilt. I've never met anyone who loves basting. This is a fantastic product. Talking about basting, we have the micro stitch tool. I love this. So this is the sort of thing that you have in a shop. It's the sort of thing you have in a shop for putting labels on clothes. But this is for basting. It's just brilliant. I'd never come across them before until a few years ago, and then someone showed them to me. So when you're layering your top fabric, your backing fabric and your wadding together, instead of tacking, or if you don't want to use spray, you just, I don't think it's got any in it. Has it got any in it? Then it just puts these tiny tags. So in the pack you get the gun, but you also get these little tacks as well, in white and black. Now they're removable, so what you do, you can actually sew over them. Now I can't remember how you put them. You just do it like, is it just like that? A top tip for this, on a cooling tray for baking. Oh, okay, so it's quicker if you've got like a flat surface. Oh, it goes all the way through, but you can actually just put it all the way through like this. So if you want to, it's just a way of tacking. You just push the needle through and press the gun. And now, can you see that little tag, just like you have in shops, but very, very thin, you can actually sew over them. So if you want to join layers together, so this is particularly with quilting, you just put the layer through and press the gun, and then it comes through all the way. They come in black and white, so it's probably best to choose the colour that will show up most on your fabric. You do get a lot in here. I wonder whether it actually says how many you get. It means that you don't have to use pins. Oh, it doesn't actually. Right, you only get a few. 1,080. 1,080. Once you've used them, you can buy packs of refills. You don't have to buy another gun and work. But it is a really, really quick way of joining layers of fabric together. It doesn't have to be quilted. You can join anything together if you just want something. I mean, you know, even if you wanted to do a quick hem, if you were going out and you needed to hem something, because you wouldn't really see them. And then when you finish, you can just cut them all out and they're gone. It's the tiniest, like a needle. So it won't damage the fabric. But quite sharp though, so do be careful with it. Very, very super sharp, but a brilliant, brilliant tool. It's just a tacking machine. Right, I've got quite a few nice books here as well. Let's just put my pins falling out of my pin cushion. I have got Susan Briscoe's, but this is lovely. I like this one. So Susan Briscoe is who we know and love from Shashko. However, Susan is also an expert quilter as well. I'm going to move that out of the way because it's moving. So 350 plus quilting tips and techniques and trade secrets. So Susan is not only, in fact, I think she started with patchwork and quilting. Shashko came later. But this is the most fantastic encyclopedia and compendium. What I love about it is it covers very, very beginner techniques for anyone who's not sewn, a real Bible for sewers. But also it covers much more experienced things. There's lots of tips and techniques. Now, it covers everything, you know, the real basics, buying a sewing machine, gadgets, choosing fabrics. So things that you'd see in a lot of books, how to prepare and store fabrics, using dyes. But as you flick through it, there's so much stuff in it you think, well, I've never seen that. How to put photos onto fabric, how to create colour. So it's all about the practical as well as the creative. So it covers, you know, lots and lots of different people. It shows you things like try it, fix it, there's something wrong with that, how do I do that? There's a lot of little boxes of tips and techniques. Try it, try this, try that. This is all about designing quilts, quilting inspiration, ways that you can do it. And then we go on to so this is very beginner, how to do rotary cutting right from the very beginning. So this is really good for experienced people if you want to refresh. But then it goes on to more complex things, how to create your own templates, how to try different things. Then it starts going on to fussy cutting. So you've got the real beginner, but then it moves further on. What is fussy cutting? How do I do that? What's the point of it? And then and every technique and skill that it covers, it starts right at the beginning, but it puts a lot more. And it puts little tips in, like pressing towards dark fabric. Well, why do I have to do that? And it explains how to do it. American patchwork, log cabin, and honestly, there's just, for anyone who is interested in patchwork, quilting and applique, this is just the best book. It's only $12.99. Wow, there honestly is so much. Seminole patchwork, I love Seminole patchwork. Really unusual technique, but just lovely. How to do half square triangles the easy way. Flying geese. What is a flying geese? How do I do that? What's the simplest way to do it? But there's so much. Even if you have been quilting for years and years, and it even says, you know, like this is very similar to the technique we were using earlier in the at 9 o'clock. At 8 o'clock, and what we were doing with that. How to do puzzles and weaves. Seams and miters, and these are really important, aren't they? How to do the perfect miter. Freehand. But then you could go through the whole thing. We've now moved on to applique, so different sorts: freezer paper applique, needle turn, reverse applique, Hawaiian applique by strips. I mean, it's just really, it has got everything. Crazy patchwork, quilting, so just pure quilting itself, how to work with colour. I mean, how to do free machine quilting, quilt as you go, binding, finishing. Honestly, it's just got everything. Every time I look through this book, there's always something else, and I think, oh, that's interesting. Groups, how to work with groups, how to make a group quilt. A lot of people do that. You know, you get a lot of sort of youth groups or church groups or sewing groups, and they get together and they make one together. How to put your how to organise an exhibition, which is really important, isn't it? How to organise it, tracking the exhibits, running it after the exhibition, the catalogue, you know, visiting a large show, how you would do that, how you go about it, preparing your exhibition quilt, even how to pack it up. I mean, there really is nothing missed out. You've even got the imperial and metric conversions in there. It's got everything in it. If you are or have been in the slightest bit interested in patchwork quilting or applique, this is a brilliant book. Believe me, I love that book. Love that one. Very quickly before we finish, the 10-inch, this one. So this is really good. We have sold in the past, we've always had lots of 10-inch pre-cut. We love pre-cuts, don't we? It's just simple because you just buy your 10-inch, sometimes they're called 10-inch pre-cuts, sometimes they're called layer cakes, depends who makes them. But this is some block patterns of what to do with them. It's published by the Missouri Star Quilt Company. If you haven't come across them, then they are brilliant. I mean, Jenny Doan, who runs it, she's an absolute expert in quilting, and her YouTube videos are fantastic. I really love them. So, you know, you don't have to use pre-cuts. You can cut 10-inch squares from your own fabrics from the meter. But this book gives you lots of inspirations about how to do building blocks and how to do different things. We've only ever had it on, is it once before? Once before. It's really popular. And we sold hundreds, but there was I mean, if you've ever seen the Missouri Star Quilt Company, you'll know how brilliant they are. I use them as quite a reference tool if I want to learn a new technique or check up on something, because they're so clear and easy to understand. And there are lots of different quilts and ideas of what you can do. And it's only $8.99. I like the fact it's ring bound, so it really is a use it while you work book, because it lies flat. There's loads and loads of different quilts in here. Half and half quilt, out of time quilt. Lovely pictures of the different ways, but very simple. I mean, there really is just little triangles, very simple. But for $8.99, I mean, how many quilts are there in here? 20 patterns for $8.99 using 10-inch blocks. But you don't have to use pre-cuts, you could just cut them yourself. I love the disappearing pinwheel arrow. So all this is made up of a pinwheel, but by turning that and mixing it with half square triangles, you end up with arrows in between them. And then we turn it over and that's what it looks like as a quilt. So it's lovely the fact that you've got on one side it explains how to do it, because it really is just a block. There's nothing more complicated. Once you've learned that block, which is what that page tells you, you turn it over and it shows what happens when you join all those blocks together. The disappearing pinwheel churn dash. And look how clever that looks. The royal wedding. Weddings don't get much grander than those held by the royals in England. Now we can make a beautiful traditional single wedding ring block to make our abode just a bit fancier. So that's interesting. So that's a because I like the double wedding ring, but this is a single wedding ring. And then together, it's beautiful, isn't it? Very simple 4-patch star, but there's something about when you take that one block and just keep repeating it. So all you've got to do is practice on one, and it tells you how many you need. So to make this one, you need 2 packs of 10-inch squares. So that's easy, isn't it? Love this one, the disappearing hourglass. So the block itself looks quite simple. But, well, it's 2 blocks, but when you put it together with those colour combinations, oh, I love that one. Really clever. Freestyle stars. But there's something about when they're put together, but this is just, the way that it's laid out makes it look really simple, and it is. Just is. But things like this, like starburst, you think, oh, that looks really complicated. But when you turn over, you think, oh, okay, so it's not. No. But great value. Love the cat one. Pins and paws. Cat blocks, lovely. Pins and paws. Yes, we were talking about that earlier. Not a good mix. That's why you need magnetic pin things for pins and paws. The Sail Away quilt. But it's just simple. The snail trail, that's a beautiful quilt. Looks much cleverer and much more complicated than it actually is, because it looks like you're quilting in curved and in spirals, and it's not. It's all straight lines, but it's just the way it joins together. Anyway, this is just a fantastic book because it is $8.99. You've got 20 block patterns. It shows you really simply how do you make the block, how do you join them together, and how much fabric do I need. So really nice purchase, that one. That will probably sell out today, I would imagine. So shall we go on to one last book? Let's go on to this one. This one is Simple Shapes, Stunning Quilts by Stuart Hillard. 100 designs. Maybe you're thinking, right, okay, once I've got Christmas out of the way, I am going to make a big quilt. Got January, still quite dark, despite the fact the nights are drawing out now, because it's the first day of winter. This is the book for planning those really big quilts. Look at them. Where do you start? There are so many. So the beginning section anyway is all the techniques, tools and materials. It's really good. Tells you how to do basic things like basic patchwork units, all of that. How to do a design wall. So we've got the design wall. Here's a picture of Stuart with his design wall. We have actually got the design wall. I've got one here, but they are available on the website. Basically, it's fabric with a grid printed on it, and it's like a brushed cotton, so you can stick other fabric to it. So you attach your design wall to a wall, and then you can take fabric that you've already cut out and it will just stick on. It doesn't actually stick, but it just attaches because it's like a brush cotton. It will just stay there. It's a really good way of designing and planning a quilt. So if you're thinking about planning ahead and doing a quilt, this is ideal, and you can stick it on. We've got it available on the website. And then these are all the quilts. 100. So for £22.95, you're getting 100. You've got really big ones, like this hexagon quilt. There's a massive choice. So if you're thinking, right, I am going to make a big quilt, there's a lot in here. Some of them have got photographs. Some of them are diagrams. Oh, look at that checkerboard. That's stunning, isn't it? Absolutely stunning. Hearts. But this really is, I'm going to make a big quilt. And there's so much inspiration. So, but you know, is you can buy it, get it home, sit down on the sofa and have a really, really good look through. Think about the fabric you've already got. Look at that. That's like half a Union Jack. That's amazing. Really, really stunning. I suppose you could just make another one. You'd have a massive one. But, you know, have a think about which one you want to make. What fabrics have you got there for which ones you want to buy? But there's so much inspiration. So I love the strawberry. Yeah, that's beautiful, isn't it? I love strawberry patchwork. But it's, you can spend just quite a lot of time. If you've got this book, you've got so much inspiration. You have to think about, right, I'm going to make myself a full-on quilt this year. But there's loads. I'm just going to show you the ones with the photographs. I like the hashtag quilt. So some have photos. Look at that, the ice lolly. That's your picnic quilt, isn't it? Make that in the summer. One day we'll have this. One day the summer will come and we can go and have a picnic. But there's lots of photographs as well as illustration. There's a whole section of curved piecing if you want to do that. That one's really modern, racing track, isn't it? The rose petals is lovely. So some of them are photographs, some of them are diagrams. I like the lollipop flowers. That's really, so you've got quite a combination of traditional quilts as well as modern. Half circles, that's lovely. You can see how the quilting on this one, they've obviously washed it afterwards because it's slightly shrunk a bit to give that antique look. So, Star Baker, look at that one. I love that one. Menu, that's enough of that, but that's lovely. Anyway, so that's the end of Sewing Street for today, but don't go anywhere. I'm just going to tell you what's coming up tomorrow, and then we've got Yarn Lane. So tomorrow at 8 o'clock, we've got Liberty Hesketh House. Beautiful fabric. That is a lovely, lovely collection. 9 o'clock, we've got Catherine Wright on, who's making pretty purses. 10 o'clock is Adjustaform. Love those. Perfect for dressmaking, especially when you're going to start making your own clothes for next year. 11 o'clock, Catherine's back with the Flourishing Sewing Set, and at 12 o'clock, we've got sewing machines. Nice day tomorrow. So, don't go anywhere. Coming up, we've got Yarn Lane with Wendy Orlando. And don't go anywhere if you're watching. If you're watching on the TV, don't go anywhere because Yarn Lane will just carry on. But if you're watching on Facebook or on the website, you need to go onto yarnlane.com. So we have two completely separate websites and Facebook sites, sewingstreet.com and yarnlane.com. If you're watching on the TV, one just moves into the other, but if you're not, you need to turn over. We have two websites for ordering as well, but when you order from Sewing Street or from Yarn Lane, the P&P goes together. So that's the good thing, but we do have two separate things. But we have got the most beautiful baby blankets, and we're doing knitting and crochet together using beautiful soft baby yarn. There they are. The one in the middle is the crochet. But if you're thinking about knitting or crocheting blanket for a new arrival, you're going to love this. Various techniques that Wendy's going to show you in this hour. So don't go anywhere other than make a cup of tea, because that's quite important, and then come back with us for Yarn Lane in just a couple of minutes.